Today on the podcast, I'm absolutely stoked because I've managed to get Luke Fink to carve out a couple of hours out of his schedule, and we joke, not much going on, but he's about to jump on a plane, and you got, what, 2 cars in the build right now with 3 days to go?
Oh, it'd be nice if I got 2 on the build for right now, basically. So I'm trying to rush a Ford Falcon together that's going to Japan. Obviously, I'm taking a Ford Falcon to Japan, so she's definitely not a stocky by any means. So absolute ton of work, full roll cage in the last week. Lots of suspension work, lots of parts, rocking up on the door and trying to make it happen. Taking the first ever Falcon to Japan. Well, first ever Drift Falcon, sorry. Apparently there's an XC over there and an XF somewhere in Japan. So not the first Falcon, but definitely the first Falcon drift cars over there. So that's pretty rad. And then on top of that, I leave Thursday for 2.5 months in the States where my Corvette is waiting for me. And unfortunately, not just fixing the Corvette, also a little bit of love for the Escalade tow car as well. So there's a ton of logistics going on in the background for me and my wife. My wife is losing it. But we carved out some time this morning and made it happen.
Because I've been going backwards and forwards with Luke for a while now, trying to squeeze him in on the show here. But yeah, your travel arrangements, mate, are wild.
Not too bad, to be honest. It was a lot more difficult when I had the track. I don't think I realised how stressful running a drift track was until it was gone. And I'm so bloody relaxed. I feel like I'm on holiday, like a proper holiday, because any holiday I had in 6 years where I was running the track was never a holiday. There was always those phone calls and, you're sitting on a beach in Bali thinking you're relaxing, then you get that call and, for lack of a better word, shit hits the fan and all of a sudden you're making 20 different phone calls from that beautiful beach. So always stressful.
Oh, shit. Because I was really wondering how that was going off the back of Archerfield closing because part of the reason I'm wanting to get you on here was I was really interested to know what was going to happen next. But it sounds like that, there is a blessing in disguise there as well.
Yeah, look, it definitely sucks. Like more than anything, it sucks for the drift scene itself. I don't think it's only now hitting a lot of people that they can't just go and hit Archie on a Thursday for a test. That whole dynamic of the Queensland drift scene is gone. And even though we've just had Morgan Park open to drifting, phenomenal place to go, still a 2-hour drive out there to work out that your car's broken. I was fortunate enough where I wasn't taking chances, so I took 2 cars out to Morgan Park in case a car broke, and it broke on the very last lap, but I saw dudes packing up in the first half an hour. And it's like, you're driving 2 hours, your car's not tested because you didn't have anywhere to test, and you've rocked up out there, invested a ton of money, and you're packing your car up already and on the way home. So, we've lost a big chunk of what made Queensland so rad, and it's one of the reasons Archerfield's one of the reasons I moved to Queensland. Watching online back in the boost cruising days, seeing living down in Victoria, freezing cold, looking up here at you guys just drifting every week, and I was like, this Victoria sucks. I'm out of here. So, warm weather and lots of drifting is what brought me up here personally. So, losing that was pretty sucky overall for the scene. And then for us personally, it was obviously one of our businesses. So, we invested a ton of time. We had so many amazing volunteers and just people in general involved. We did a lot of work that people probably wouldn't have noticed within the community of drifting as well. Like, honestly, drifting and Archerfield saved so many lives. Like, it's crazy. You would not believe the amount of stories, especially like on that last event, people coming up and hugging and like grown men crying like this place saved my life and things like that. They're in a hole in a dark place and they found Archie. They found that community vibe that we had going on down there and become part of it. And all of a sudden, they just turn their lives around. So it's a lot of the behind the scenes, which you wouldn't even necessarily think about, that we're losing with that place.
And I think that's the saddest, because anybody that's had anything to do with that scene, and particularly up here in Queensland, where we proudly refer to ourselves as the drift state, we've all, we did our time there.
Yeah, 100%. And it was such a especially once I took it over and abolished the start line for advanced sessions and just made it, you could just pump lap after lap, and there's no way you couldn't get good. You know, you were just doing so much driving, and at the end of the day, drifting, like any other sport, the more you do it, the better you're going to get, regardless of how naturally skilled you are or not. You're just going to get better.
And it would have been hard with all the work that you put into the track, because the resurfacing and adding the dip and adding all these cool things that you did to make it not just a track, but like a rock star track. That would be, I assume that would be challenging to leave behind.
It hurt. It hurt a lot. The bank in particular was probably the hardest one. You know, we put in, I think 80 or 90K out of our own personal savings into that. I sold my dream car at the time, which I had, and put everything into making that happen. And then COVID hit, and that was terrifying, to be honest with you. That affected our ability to lend to get a house. So we had a house we had our eyes on. We couldn't buy that house anymore because of the money we'd invested in the track. Because, you know, it's an interesting thing. Like everyone, you know, we had a few people set up like things like fundraising stuff for Archie, and people like, oh, why don't you just sell your Raptor? And it's like, mate, a Raptor's a tax write-off. Anybody that knows anything about business knows that that vehicle's just there clearly as a tax write-off. It's either you're giving that money to the tax man, or you can drive around a ute, you know, because that's what you can write off in tax. You can write off nearly 100% of it these days on tax. So, you know, and again, the bank owned it anyway. You know, I sell it and get 20 grand back. Cool. That's not going to get the track done. So there was a few fundraisers started and comments like that. But the biggest thing that I think people didn't understand is that place was so volatile, working with Speedway, let alone the council on top of that, you know, sort of gunning for us sometimes. And there was a lot of things against us. And the contract that we had as far as the lease was we were there as long as they were there. And they were always maybe 2 years at a time. So you're not going to go out and get, you know, let's just say a five-year loan for 100 grand, knowing that you're going to potentially lose the place at any point, you know, let alone within 2 years, you know. So that was never the smart way. The smarter way and super risky way, and only someone that was ridiculously passionate about the sport would be stupid enough to spend 100 grand on a single corner to make the place better. And that's where it was. It was passion driven, you know, to get that corner in there and make it happen for the sport of drifting, and making that place that changed the dynamics of Archerfield so much. The Nico drop, the other parts, you know, we can thank QR and the old owners of QR for the first real major upgrade the place got. I spent like 35K on the place because that's how much QR wanted to hire QR for 2 days and then take. We had an agreement in place and it was percentage based. And then when we finally got the contract, they completely backflipped on it and basically wanted all of gate plus charges 35K and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, well, Archie gets 35 grand and we're going to make, you know, I think we did the first section near where Nico drop was, and then filled in that whole center area. And then we ran some, you know, big comps there and helped recoup. But that was sort of how the first big sort of stuff happened there at Archie. But yeah, you're talking over the 6 years, we probably put $500,000 into Archerfield, which is crazy. When you think people just, it's a little go-kart track. It's like, man, there's a lot of stuff that went into that, and the amount of progression the place had. You were around from back when it was a goat track, essentially, with a couple of tires around it and stuff, to, you know, to it becoming a place where you can pull fourth gear there in a powerful car, not a worry in the world, and hold it wide open for a decent amount of time. So that part of it was definitely super rad. And unless you'd been there, I guess you couldn't really appreciate the gravity of how cool Archie was, really.
And I think that's, any of us that are involved know how much you did for the place. And again, it was only somebody with that kind of passion that was going to make it work. It needed a dash of insanity to go, whatever it takes.
The dash of insanity is exactly right, because purely on a business sense, because people would turn around and say, it's your business, sell everything you own and do it. It's like, all right, if I'm just going to run this like purely business, right? I'm like, you're getting some cold asphalt or whatever that stuff's called. I'll jam it in there. It'll rip up every other week and I'll just keep paying at the gate. I won't reinvest. Like, cool. Don't need to. Why would you? There's a minimum or maximum term of rental is not even 2 years at a time. Cool. I won't spend a cent. That would be smart. That's what Barry did before me. He drove the place completely into the ground and then walked away just as it was breaking up to pieces. And that's when I took over. So yeah, it was, I guess when I first took it over, my wife was pregnant with my second kid. And yeah, trust me, there was some times there that were interesting.
Oh, mate, I could imagine the tension. That's, yeah. Because that's the problem with all this stuff and lots of these things that we end up dedicating huge chunks of our life to is that on a P&L basis, they make no sense.
Exactly, 100%. Well, drifting at full stop.
Oh, no.
On its own. Even just doing the actual driving part of it doesn't make any sense. We're idiots. But, from a business point of view, the running of it and stuff is tough to justify in your brain.
Very tough.
A lot easier when you're crazy, though.
A lot easier.
Heaps easier.
Mate, and that's the joy. And most of us that find ourselves addicted to this stuff, we've got a few screws loose, and that's why it all makes sense to us.
What do people do that don't do this sort of stuff?
I honestly don't know. I mean, I've said, people have Lego collections or, I saw somebody that builds rockets the other day. I thought that was kind of cool.
I couldn't imagine the amount of free time and the amount of money. I can't understand how people aren't all millionaires.
Absolutely.
Like if you don't drift, how are you not all millionaires?
Oh, totally. You'd have so much money because you're just always breaking stuff and multiple vehicles.
But you know what? I think the more interesting part of that is I think there's a ton of people, I think especially within drifting, that want to do it and realize, right, I'm going to need to knuckle down, get a really good job, really invest time in education and things like that and upskilling to be able to afford to go and do it. So I think in a lot of ways, as much as we're all degenerates, it will force you to become a better person, society-wise, the better job and all that sort of stuff and making the good money, blah, 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 because we're all just going to waste it on brand new tyres on our drift car and smash our brand new cars into the wall for fun.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And you also have to improve your own level of skill because you've got to learn how to work on it. You've got to know it. You've got to learn how to fix things, make things,
and
all sorts of stuff.
That's actually part of my arguments when I do sit down with councils because I've had quite a few meetings since Archie has closed, some looking positive, some not positive, but overall, they're starting to understand that, they're not going to stop hooning, as they call it. So, there is definitely, I think there's potential for the future as far as a new venue goes. We're still trying to push hard as far as getting something done, working with the right people. I've sort of got my eggs in a few baskets right now trying to make something happen because we need something in Brisbane. Everyone says QR. QR's out at Ipswich. Ipswich isn't Brisbane. Ipswich is Ipswich. It's its own city. It's its own council. It's kind of our bush, really. And if you're coming anywhere from north, it's a 2-hour drive and you have to sit in the Bruce traffic jam. So, having something in Brisbane is really what we need. Melbourne has Calder Park. It's 15 minutes from the city down the highway. Sydney has Eastern Creek. It's a bit further, but everything's long and crappy in Sydney as far as getting anywhere goes. So no, I think we really need it. Archie showed that we need it. We were packed all the time, especially our beginner nights. I don't know if you saw any of our beginner nights closer to the end there. Every beginner night was packed. Lots of females, lots of young guys, old guys, grandpas, you name it. We had anyone and everyone that were getting the confidence to come out and give it a go and getting involved. So super rad.
And it does have a great community. This is the whole thing.
Yep.
Is there are great people that help each other and support each other and try to do the right thing. There's always outliers that, make a bit of trouble. But broadly speaking, and this is part of why this podcast has been so hilarious, is all my automotive friends, colleagues, you look around and you go, hang on, this is my whole world.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think the best thing about it is you can have, we've got plenty of millionaires that were coming down to drive at Archie. We had plenty of guys that were scraping every last cent they had together. And they're all still rubbing shoulders, high fives, it comes to the comps, especially, when you get some serious camaraderie going on, and you know, you have a millionaire on his hands and knees helping the guy that used his last $5 on fuel to get to the event, you know, and that sort of stuff. And it was all just washed to the side for just a common interest in drifting and just having a bloody good time, really, more than anything.
And when you think the money that will be put into youth programs and all these sorts of things, you know, a boxing gym, people go, oh, what a good place to build character. It's the same thing.
Oh, 100%.
It is a place for like-minded people to get together and work towards a common goal.
So luckily, I had a chance meeting at a McDonald's with a quite high-up police officer, and we got chatting. And he was an older officer, but we got chatting away and while waiting for our food. And he, you know, I told him about Archie and etc. And he knows all about it, and he'd noticed the rise in hoon activity in his area because Archie was closed. Everyone is turning to the street, whether we like it or not. That's where guys are going. They're not just going to stop what they love doing. So he'd noticed it, and, you know, he was quite encouraging, and he backed it 100%. But he said one of the interesting things you need to look into is what road trauma costs us as a community, as a country. And it's absolutely wild. When you look into the numbers, every injury on the roads is over 400K. On average, is what it costs us as a community. Every injury, that's talking, you know, you crash and you hurt your ribs. That goes into that category. So 400 grand a piece. Every death on Australian roads costs us 4 million. And as a total every year, road trauma, like so any sort of car crashes and stuff like that, and this is not including the cost of the vehicles themselves, 27 billion. It costs us a year, Australians.
What?
And they can't throw it. You know what I mean? Like, throw us 10 mil. Let us build a track, you know, let us build somewhere to take all these hoons, since you're blaming us all for all these accidents. It's all us, obviously.
Correct.
Bullshit. Give us somewhere to go. You know, let's look at it from a business point of view. You know, all the council people are essentially business people, right? They sit behind desks. They think they know all about the world, but don't look outside their window to see the real world. 27 billion. If all the hoons are causing this, give us half that. We'll build a racetrack in every city and town, and no one will die because it was all the hoons doing it. And all of a sudden, we've got somewhere to go, and you saved $12 billion.
And they're all terrific drivers is the upside. It's a wonderful defensive driving strategy.
Yep. So, you know, let's look at a business point of view. 27 billion, put half of that into hooning prevention, and you've saved it. And that's not fining people. That's not going out and catching them doing the wrong thing. Give them somewhere to go.
And this is the thing, mate. I'm always in full support of anything because it's a grassroots exercise. It ticks a lot of the boxes for getting people.
Is it grassroots, though? When you think about how many people you see out and about at motorsport events, and think how broad motorsport is, like between motocross, drifting, circuit driving, like any given day we have 3 tracks within 2 hours of Brisbane.
No, you're right. It's a massive commercial
that are
operation.
absolutely pumping every day of the week, you know, and then you got weekends where they have the larger events, like all your car meets, all that sort of stuff. Like, you know, we're sort of looking at, I guess it sort of gets brushed under the carpet because you have a game, you know, a football every now and then that fills a stadium. You know, in Europe, they just sold out 55,000 tickets for a drift event.
I saw that
in
news,
a stadium.
And that was actually mind-blowing.
Yeah. So, you know, I think drifting and motorsports in general, you know, you just wish the government would take it more serious. You know, it's just part of Australia, isn't it?
It really is, mate.
Yeah. So it'd be nice, but we'll just keep dreaming and hope that the money gets spent in the right places, because it is crazy for us. Like I see what I invested into Archie and even the size of the land and all that sort of stuff, and then you get sort of, which is no offense to Willowbank by any means, but they got an $11 million cash injection, and they got that 3 years ago, something like that, and just now they're going to resurface the track, and it's like, man, like with $11 million, like I could probably buy a pretty nice chunk of land, 100% lay a nice track and have all of that thing and done. You know what I mean? Run and done, and we'd be operational getting people off the street and making all that happen. And it's like, yeah, it's really interesting at the end of the day, isn't it? Like
It is, mate. And the public versus places to go versus motorsport tracks. You know, I look at the debacle around Lakeside that, you know, flares up from time to time, the closure of so many facilities, and then nothing to fill the gap. Is
madness over one or two people complaining.
Correct.
Norwell, another classic example. Sitting out there's like 2 people that complain. And you got a place that could service thousands of people and makes thousands of people happy.
The saddest part, and I think they've run out of steam, but poor old extreme karting down there as well that got, you know, belted into the ground because, again, somebody complained. And I'm sure there's more to that story.
That's a tougher one because he built that with no permission whatsoever.
Well, that's pretty loose. I'm surprised he got to operate for
He just had the land and built it and, you know, dealt with the red tape later, which, hey, he was running for quite some time before it actually got closed down. So, you know, he was kudos to him, obviously. It's and you know what's interesting? This is how out of touch these councillors are. So I actually had some councillors from down that way suggest about some land that was available down there. They're like, you know, this would be a good place to build a track, all right. And it was literally between Norwell and Extreme Karting. And I'm like, you guys done any research?
Yeah.
At all?
Like a basic Google search.
I'm like, you guys are the ones that have closed down the go-kart track, which is, I think, about 1 kilometre, if that, away from this place you're suggesting. And you're also the ones that don't allow the place that's 1 kilometre the other way to operate because of noise. And this is where you think I should start one? I'm like, he's idiots, man. Come on. These are people that work for the council.
And it hurts.
Not Brisbane Council, by the way.
No.
But it's just like, it's wild.
But and it hurts because you're somebody that is trying to push all this forward, is willing to facilitate it. You got the runs on the board, you know how to do it, and then you're just there, you know, people just shrugging at you, going, "Well, that's not going to win us votes."
Yeah, and then again, that's where, you know, having that chance meeting with that police officer and having those chats is something that has worked in our favour. You know, turning around and being like, right, that's what it's about for them. It is winning votes, saving money, you know, spending money in the right places, turning around and pushing it towards them in a light where it's, you know, the business case of it, where you are going to save a ton of money, and obviously you're going to look good on paper. You're saving the country money. You're investing in the youth and all genres, really. So that's something that's actually helped us push and given us a lot of positive ammo, I guess.
Which is great because it needs that, and it needs that sort of level of support where they realise, and this is something that for people that say they're not interested in politics, if you don't get in and shove around that stuff and at least understand it, this is where these things happen, particularly from an infrastructure standpoint.
Yeah, and pollies don't understand passion.
God, no.
You know what I mean? They've never been passionate about anything other than themselves, ever. So, you know, being passionate about something for other people and to make others happy, I think is definitely the kind of way, you know, we need to spin it. We need to spin it on their level. And I think it's somewhat working. You know, you feel good after coming out of some of the meetings rather than just being shut down, you know, when you're getting positive answers and positive responses and, you know, walking out with them saying, yes, we do need this. You know, it's whether they're putting their hands in their pockets and making it happen is another thing, but even them just saying, yes, I agree, we need this, you know, is good to hear.
And that's a massive positive step.
Yeah.
And I do see people really making an effort and some things starting to turn a corner, because I look at Rory with his events that he runs where he actually gets access to that land there on the waterfront and again gets that level of support. And I see Sharpie out at QR now involving emergency services, police, fireys, ambos, and again, part of the education and trying to wrap these things in. There are people advocating and pushing to try and make these things tie in better.
Yeah, well, you know, you've been around for long enough, as I have. There used to be a ton of police programs that were involved.
Mate, Operation Drag.
Yeah, New South Wales, even now, they've been a lot of police presence, like in a good way, at a lot of these events for a long time now in New South Wales, in a positive light, which is quite cool. And it has dropped off in a lot of places where it is starting to come back, and it's pretty cool to see.
Because that's something that, like, I'm all for, and I think most people are too, is that if you at least foster respectful relationships, you understand what we're both trying to do.
No, 100%. And, you know, I'm a good boy. I still got all my 12 points and everything like that, other than if you don't include that bit where I went to court recently for driving my four-wheel drive on rocks.
Whoops.
Didn't lose any points for that, though. It's just a small fine of $7,500.
Whoops.
But other than that, as far as driving on the road, and again, that was nothing police related anyway. It was just greenies. You know, my relationship with police is fantastic. You know, the police we'd had come down to the drift park. We had one bad egg. I won't lie. We did have one guy in particular that was driving all the way down from Brisbane City to come and sit there and attack our guys at the gate. Like we had a tow truck at our front gate with the back loaded to the gate, and they were pushing the car onto the tow truck. And this cop came and tried to do them for driving unroadworthy on the road, unregistered. It's like they're pushing it onto a legal tow truck. Like, what are you talking about, buddy? So, yeah, there was a few guys that gave him a chat. We'll call it give him a chat. And, yeah, we didn't see him much after that. But, you know, more than anything, the local police, you know, I've actually got pulled over towing a car, and the only reason he pulled me over was to say that, you know, he's supporting the track, and this is when they were trying to shut us down for noise. And he's like, he told us that their station had put a big letter together and actually sent that to council.
Wow.
Which was super rad.
That's massive.
So, you know, that's one a lot of people don't know about. But, yeah, he pulled me over and had a bit of a chat, and I was sort of like, oh, shit, what am I getting pulled over for? Like, did I not secure my car down?
What on earth have I done?
Yeah, because it's been a while since I've been pulled over. And, yeah, just genuinely, how you going, Luke? And I'm like, oh, God.
Like, oh, shit, here we
He's
go.
like, yeah. And, yeah, pulled me over to have a chat about the drift park and, you know, how they support it and stuff and see the positive side of it. And it was just like, oh, that's super rad. And, you know, he said if we ever need any help with, you know, writing anything, and he'd written up that form. So I'd been in touch with him since, you know, with regards to trying to get somewhere else happening. But, you know, there's definitely good coppers out there. There's good counsellors out there. You know, it's just, unfortunately with these things, I think we've just got to get sat down in front of the right person that can sign the right piece of paper, because that's literally all it is, isn't it?
It is.
You get the right person on the right day to sign that right piece of paper, and all of a sudden it's happening. So, you know, we're positive, we're hoping. If not, stuff Australia, I'm going overseas.
Yeah, fair enough. And you've been doing a bit more of that. I mean, you've always been in a global traveller in your motorsport career.
Yeah, even pre-motorsport, my BMX career before drifting was, yeah, all worldwide stuff.
And hilariously, that was one of the things that I was pretty keen to chat to you about.
Yeah.
Because people that may or may not know that story.
Well, people think we're two different people. There's
Really?
a Luke Fink BMX guy and there's a Luke Fink drift guy.
Really? Is that
Yeah.
what you get?
Well, the drift guy's fatter. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't.
Okay.
He wasn't in the earlier days.
No, look at that. Look at that. There's the fit Luke Fink, and then
Yeah, there's that skinny guy, and then there's that fatter version of him that's good in a drift car. No, genuinely had a bunch of people that have thought we're two different people. So that's pretty interesting.
that's wicked, mate. Let's back your story all the way up. So, are you from? You said Victoria. Is that home, or where was home?
Technically, I'm South Australian.
South Australia.
Yeah.
Jeez, didn't know that either.
So I was born in Adelaide, grew up till I was 10 or 11 in country South Australia in a place called Red Hill, just down the road from Snowtown for the murders in the barrel.
Fantastic.
Yeah, my dad knew a lot about that.
Good neighbourhood. Awkward.
So that was interesting. They were all bad people that were in the barrels anyway. I don't see the problem. But yeah, grew up there. Then we ended up moving to Melbourne. My dad got a job opportunity. We moved to the western suburbs of Melbourne. Real rough part of Melbourne, but that's where I got into BMX. You know, to stay away from the trouble and everything, and just fell headfirst into BMX and fell in love with it, and things just snowballed.
Because you went real hard into BMX.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I go hard into everything. I think it's a good or a bad, but like I said, things just sort of snowballed. I got into it and, started doing some competitions in Australia and everything was, won a ton of stuff here in Australia, having a good time, doing a lot of video parts and things like that. And then, buddy was super confident in my abilities, way more confident than I was in my abilities. And he shouted me a ticket to Europe and we're going to go to the Worlds and do a bunch of other riding and stuff like that. And, the tickets back then were pretty, I don't know, it was about $2,000, but this was back in 2003, so a few years back. And it was, he helped out a ton and we got over there and the first event we went to was the World Championships. And I ended up, I was scared to enter, to be honest. I was looking at a lot of my international peers and whatnot, and especially being in Europe, you obviously had all the big American names you knew over there, but then there was all these, Europeans that were killing it and stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I was like, we'd had a few drinks. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to enter everything. So I entered BMX Street, which was my preferred discipline. Then I entered BMX Dirt and BMX Vert as well. And I was just like, stuff it. I'll ride. If I'm going to ride, I'll just ride in all of them. And mate, I had a blast that weekend and ended up winning the World Championship Street event, coming third in Dirt and fifth in Vert. Come away with a ton of money. Was able to pay my buddy back and travelled for another, I think, 6 months that year overseas.
And that's a fucking wild story all by itself. Like world champ out of the gates.
Yeah, no, it was my very first. All the articles and stuff was like Fink who's this guy sort of thing. And ironically, it's kind of the same way I came into the drifting world, not on an international level. Actually, kind of on an international level as well. But when I dropped onto the scene here in Australia with drifting, my very first pro event, basically from just being a street drifter, my first national event was Drift Australia. The first round I was meant to do was in Sydney and I broke my leg on BMX. Couldn't do that. I turned up to Tasmania on crutches for my first ever national event and won. So that was funny. And I remember it was, what was his name? Drew Halloran, the commentator. You remember? He was around back in the day. But
that was pre-me, mate.
Yeah, that was even pre-you. Okay. But it was my first ever national event. We had to petition to get my license to even enter the event, all that sort of jazz. And came out and won on debut on crutches, like literally stitches in my ankle from surgery I'd had with pins and plates and screws in my ankle.
Holy shit.
So that was the story in itself, having to go around and get essentially a dodgy roadworthy for my ankle. To just say what did I tell the doctors? I went around to like 15 different doctors. I said, I just need permission to go out and drive the race car on the track. I'm not doing anything silly. It's just a little drive around, a testing for some photos and stuff. And eventually found one that had wrote me a roadie to allow me to drive a race car on the track. That was what I needed for cams, obviously.
Of course.
You can't necessarily rock up on crutches
and then get in your
fairly
race car.
obviously very fresh surgery on your leg, and I think you're just going to jump into a race car because if it did catch fire, I wasn't getting out anytime fast and hobbling away. So sort of busted onto the scene with BMX, and had a bloody good time. Bunch of years there just traveling, and didn't see a winter for a long time. That was fantastic, especially being from Melbourne at the time. Didn't see any winters, just summers. Following the comp scene, spent a lot of time in the States, a lot of time in Europe, and just had a bloody good time.
And that would have been wild as a young man to go from, kid out of South Australia and Melbourne to, you became, I guess, a celebrity of the scene.
Well, I was literally working in a factory, driving a forklift, pickpacking, all that sort of jazz, and jumped on a plane, went to Europe, and I was a world champion, within a week. It was pretty wild. And it was like, even I think getting the phone call from my old man, my old man had seen me win stuff in Australia, but, I just didn't think much of it. My old man was very much work your ass off. He was a workaholic. He was, and that's what he saw as success. He didn't understand my successes with with BMX, sorry. And it wasn't until I'd won the world championships where he went like, oh, you're pretty good at this, huh? He's like, I'm proud of you. And I was like, oh shit, now. I just had to win the bloody world championship.
All I had to do was become the best in the world to get that nod of approval.
Yeah, exactly. So that was sort of, again, went from the factory straight to, and then traveling around Europe, having an absolute ball. So
because that would have been rock star life too, I have to imagine. Traveling, was it as crazy as I imagine it would be, or?
Yeah, I think it was definitely rock star from a point of view of you'd party like a rock star, but then you were still crashing out on mates' couches and all that sort of stuff. But you wouldn't want it any other way, if that makes any sense. Like even now, even when I've been super comfortable, I much prefer staying with friends. You don't really get a sense of a place unless you've stayed with the people that live there. And I think that's a huge, huge part of traveling. Like, you do not get a sense of the culture and the sense of the people staying in a hotel. You really learn what people are about and how they live by literally staying with them. And that was huge with the BMX. Like, I stayed with wealthy friends, poor friends, there was 20 of them already jammed in the house, and we were just finding some floor space to go to sleep, and the best way to be comfortable was having a bunch of drinks before, and then you could just fall asleep easy. But it was very much like that with the BMX stuff, and that I wouldn't change because, it was rockstar. It was lots of partying, lots of fun. Sleep was sort of something you didn't think about. Where are you going to end up? I actually had nights out in BMX where I got lost in Toronto away from my buddies I was riding with because I was so hyper fixated on doing this trick I was trying to do. And they'd been telling me they want to leave. And this was, I think, like 2 a.m, and I'm just wired trying to get this trick down. And they were like, yep, we're going sort of thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'll catch up sort of thing. And I just didn't. And then it was like, where are they? I lost my mates. And again, with this whole crazy BMX stuff, I ended up meeting some other BMXers at a skate park I found in Canada, and I jumped in the car with them. We went for like a 45-minute drive out to this other skate park. This is all like in the wee hours of the morning, and went riding with them for hours, and then they dropped me back to roughly the area I was in. And then I was just like, I couldn't sleep at this point, just riding around. I had bugger all money on. I didn't have any of my stuff on me really. And by chance, I think it was around 10 a.m, I ended up running into my mates. These are guys I'm traveling around America with. I'm not just like, I wasn't staying in Canada at any certain place. We were just traveling. So it was like wild that we completely lost, just hyper fixated on a trick, lost, found some new friends, met up with, and then ended up finding my friends again at no fixed spot, nowhere near where I lost them. Just luckily found them. So plenty of stories like that.
I have no doubt. And I've said to my wife, it's actually part of what I love about the traveling motorsport world. I'm like, we're just a bunch of carnies. Like, we love just traveling. We love just being a traveling circus and just going where the thing takes us.
Well, my favorite thing about BMX was the traveling. And I think in the BMX side of things, it was kind of cool because you didn't have to go to comps necessarily. There's a lot of jams and a lot of fun events that were that opportunity to hang out with new people. Like, you would travel across the globe to go to a jam, which, there might have been some prizes there, but it wasn't about the comp. It was about the place and the people and all that sort of jazz. And I think that carries across to the drifting a lot for me, because the main reason I like going to comps is the meeting new people, seeing new places. That's my motivation behind comps. I wouldn't say I'm not competitive, but I couldn't care less about comps, if that makes any sense. It's more about the meeting new people, going to new places side of things that I absolutely love. And we're now doing the vlogging where I'm trying to push drifting for myself is more of the which you see in skating and BMX a lot now. You see there's a lot of big names that don't actually compete. I don't see why drifting with its freestyle nature can't be like that. You can't just go to all these cool events all over the place, do some gangster shit, and get just as much notoriety. I've got plenty of videos going around from last year in the Corvette, with millions and millions and millions of views, more than you'll ever get from going in some comp. So, I think that's a positive thing in the States. they understand that a lot more than here. You know, here, you know, I'm sure you deal with all of this a lot. They still think that TV's the go. I don't even have a freaking aerial hooked up at my house, let alone watch free to air. Like, I don't know many people that do anymore. Only like old people that really watch free to air TV. You know, everyone else is watching YouTube and Netflix.
Correct.
So, you know, in Australia, they still think that people are going to watch SBS and Speed Week.
Oh, yeah. And even worse, that you're going to pay an additional subscription for some subscription service to just watch, you know, your preferred sporting event.
Yes.
Okay, mate, this is going to be the fastest way down the toilet.
100%. Yeah. And I don't know. It is wild, isn't it? Australia's taking so long to catch up. But yeah, that's why it's crazy. In the States, I'm going over there now. I'm not doing really any competition. I've done a few little comps over there and funnily enough, won them. But you know, it's not what they're necessarily stressed about by any means. They're just like, are you getting out there? Are you putting stories on your Instagram? Are you doing reels? Are you posting stuff, tagging us? You know, that's what they're more concerned about. And over there, they're calling it partnerships. They're not sponsors anymore. They just want partnerships. So, you know, when you are backed by someone over there, you partner and, you know, you just work together on stuff, which is super rad. And they're super supportive as well from a sense of, you know, over here, I'll go back to probably BMX. You know, BMX was crazy over here. I was sponsored by Etnies for a few years. And it always blew my mind that we were Etnies riders. And then in the magazines, it'd always be Americans in their ads in the Australian magazines. And it was sort of like, why aren't you using us? Like, we're sponsored by you guys. You're using us to, like, you know, show your products and you're sponsoring us, yeah? Why aren't you using us for the ads? And they just couldn't even give a good answer. And it's like, I actually ended up leaving Etnies because of that. Because it just did my head in so much. I'm like, well, you really don't, you're not backing us. You know, I think as much as it's, you know, it has to be somewhat of it's in their best interest to advertise you as well, right? So I always found that really interesting.
I can answer that for you. It's because there's a marketing manager answering to a marketing director, answering to a board, and everybody's scared, so they don't make risky decisions. Yeah. I'm still astonished when, and you know, I feel like I'm shooting myself in the foot here, but people pay huge money for billboards.
Yeah.
And you know, look, as part of a broad strategy, great. But when people are selecting that over digital, I'm like just punching myself in the face going, are you serious that you think that this will work better than like digital where we can drill it down to the individual? I'm astonished at how hard we hold on to old stuff.
Yeah, well, they're going broad. You know, you can shoot fish in a barrel with digital. You know, you can. And it's
literally,
it makes so much sense. And that's why what sort of drawed me to the vlogging a lot is it just makes sense that as much as the whole influencer word and people hate the word so much, it is. Like, I was watching LZ stuff. I bought a fucking 350Z. They're a stupid car. They're ugly. They sound shitty, but they work really good. And it was an influencer that influenced me to buy it. And then even, you know, my vlogs in the earlier days, you know, when I was sub 10,000 subs, when I first got my Raptor, there was people commenting on stuff, and I bought a Raptor because, like, you what? You bought it $100,000 car because you watched my stupid ass on YouTube? And that there was tons of people that did it. And it's like, that is absolutely wild. And I can't understand, you know, in America, they're seeing it. And there are a lot of companies here that are starting to see it, but it's just wild that isn't the way to go. You know, speaking, because I spend so much time in the States now, a lot of companies are pulling out of actually sponsoring race teams to sponsor YouTubers, which is crazy. But at the same time, you kind of get it because you can be at a race event, especially a drag team for it. Drag teams are probably a real interesting one. It's probably very similar to drifting, really. It's a knockout system. You get knocked out in that first thing, you're done. You know, and from that point of view, if you don't have social media on top of that, that's it. You're just on TV for a couple seconds and you're knocked out for the rest of the event. You pack up your $1 million race team and you go home, and that's it. So I now, there's companies I know like K&N, for instance, which is wild. They've pulled a majority of their money out of actual motorsport as a whole, and are putting it back into influencers that are involved in motorsport, but they're definitely pushing that side of it more because it just makes more sense. People, you're shooting fish in a barrel. You want to sell a filter, you hit the guys that are going to buy it. Hitting abroad, hitting Super Bowl with K&N filters, or, God, what do I see all the time? I think it was Achilles was sponsoring soccer. There's a couple of tyre companies that are sponsoring soccer. And it's like, I would say 99% of those people at soccer field are going to the tyre shop and buying the cheapest tyre that fits their car.
Yep.
They don't looking at the brand in the slightest.
Nope.
They are going there. They're saying, what tyre fits my car? The tyre shop's giving them options. And they're most of the time taking the cheapest one, or with a tyre shop, if they're at a Bridgestone shop, they'll tell them Bridgestone's better. If they're at a shop that sells Toyo, they're telling them Toyo's better. It is madness, I think, when there's... And, they would be spending tons of money too, right? Like tons of money to advertise on that level.
Oh, yeah. That's big boy stuff there.
It is wild, right?
Yeah. And what you are seeing, though, is these companies that have people coming up that I guess were born in the Matrix. They know what the world looks like now, and they understand the value of somebody, and they also understand the authenticity. Because we're all smart enough to know that we're being advertised to, and we don't want to be told what to do. Whereas when we see people that, we enjoy them, we respect them, and we follow them because they're entertaining and authentic, when they tell you something, that carries a lot of clout.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's been really important for me when working with companies as well. You have a lot of responsibility. I've worked with people and had them, either, start to perform badly or do something, towards customers or someone, I was working with a painter and had painted some stuff for me, and I was, encouraging, and, some people were seeing my vlogs and going and seeing him and then reporting back to me about bad experiences they've had. And I was like, dude, you need to either pick up your shit or I'm going to have to write you off completely, sort of thing. And he did, luckily he picked up his game and everything was all sweet. But it was like that to me, I felt terrible, that people were listening to me about someone I'd, sort of backed, and them being, and there was no monetary side of anything. It was just it was a friend more than anything. And it just sucked because people were being influenced by what I was saying and getting a shitty experience. So yeah, I haven't stooped to the level of doing any of the what are they called, the dragon game or whatever. I get the emails every day for video games and casino stuff and everything, for advertising, and they're offering good money, but I can't genuinely sell it. I don't play that crap. I can't sit there and say, this is awesome. It's like, I don't have time for that, for starters, to play a video game on phone, unless it's Burnout Masters. Straight up. Burnout Masters, especially when I'm on a plane, any of that, love it. But any of those other sort of things that they're trying to sell, I can't do it. I really can't.
And it's interesting to hear you say that, because you do have an obligation and you have to believe. If you're pushing something and you don't believe in it, that presents a challenge, and people can see through that.
And there's a lot of people that can, just bullshit to you and tell you how good it is. And that's what Raid Shadow Legends, that's the one that's on everyone's thing. And honestly, I get emails from them usually a couple times a week, but it's just like, I can't do it. Not at this point in my life. I'm not desperate enough to need to do anything like that. But it is, I feel like I've got an obligation to people. The things that I'm pushing, I feel I'm genuine about. I know they're good. There's a company I'm going to start working with at the moment. I've been testing their product for probably 8 months now in 2 of my cars. and I'm like super pumped on the product, and we're going to start working together now. But they were actually super rad from a sense where they like were more than accommodating for me wanting to test the product, and they actually appreciated that because I'm like, I'm not going to peddle it to people until I know it's a good thing. When I say peddle it, that sounds bad, but you know, I'm not going to encourage people. Yeah, that's straight down the line. You know, that's essentially what it is. But you know, it is the product which people will see on my socials and stuff in the near future. It's good, you know, and I'm stoked on it. It's easy to install. It works great. Like, it's a good thing, and you know, I'm happy to tell everyone that's a good thing. And you know, if that's something they're thinking about buying, definitely go down that route. You know what I mean? I've tested it. I can tell you that it's going to be good. I much prefer that over, you know, something that is untested and stuff. And yeah, try and keep stuff relative to what I'm doing as well. You know, I've done some stuff with these rechargeable battery things, Blue Eddy, and they do these like rechargeable battery center things where essentially they're like a power station. And they're something which I was sort of like umming and ahhing about, but they are so good. Dude, they're so handy. I literally go to drift days now and I take this like power box with me and I run my full fridge off it. So I take a fridge to a drift day on power, no getting ice and all that jazz. Power tools, everything, phones and chargers and everything. You're just going off this little box thing that you get, and it's sick. And I'm so genuine on it because it is freaking rad. You know, you pick it up, it's a lithium battery thing essentially, and you can run anything off it. Absolutely anything. You can, like, only for a short time, you can run a welder off it, off this battery.
Bloody hell.
It's sick. You know what I mean? And that to me is something that's you wouldn't think's related to what I'm doing, but at the same time, you know, it's so bloody good, you know?
Well, it solves a number of problems where we never have enough power for all the things that we need to take with us.
Yeah. And not everywhere has power, you know, and definitely being able, you know,
especially
for me,
tracks.
Where I did the test with it and filmed it was down at Rally Raceway, which, you know, you're basically camping out in the dirt with no power for anything. And here's me, I'm like, I got my fridge there, everything. I'm like pimped out. I'm like loving life. Everyone's sort of coming over and sussing it out, and actually like people having a look at it and pumped on it because they're like, you're running everything off just this little battery thing. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I can be super genuine about that because I genuinely believe it was a good thing. If it wasn't, I just throw the video to the side. I didn't drop a video today because the product I was working on didn't work. So there was a video that was meant to come out today, which I sort of, threw to the side because it was a product that didn't work. So there is a lot of stuff that goes on in the background there, especially with the vlogging stuff and working with companies or even companies you're hoping to work with that don't sort of work out.
Because how long have you been doing the vlogging now?
I think 3.5 years maybe. I think it sounds right. About 3 or 4 years.
How many subs you up to?
Nearly 60,000.
Nice.
So it's all been what do you call it? You know, I haven't paid for any or done any of that sort of
all organic
stuff. Organic, that's the one I'm looking for. Yeah, much better to have organic, obviously.
Absolutely.
But no, just putting along, doing my own thing and trying to find my place, I guess, with it. But it's fun. It is fun, and it is motivating as well. Stressful, but it's motivating. You know, that you get up sometimes and you're like, man, I'm just not feeling it today, and you have to, or there's something you really don't want to fix on your car, but it's like, I'm trying to make some content today, like, let's fix that thing. I think my cars have never been better since I've had a YouTube channel because, I think the first year I had my YouTube channel, my wife was going through financials, and just the money we'd saved on me not going to mechanics and doing stuff myself for the YouTube channel, she's like, it's worth it 10 times over. It's worth having the YouTube channel because I'm just doing stuff myself instead of outsourcing, etc. So that was quite an interesting one. I hadn't even thought about it. And then, the money I'd saved from sending my cars to mechanics to do something which I should have done myself, but I was lazy or whatever, didn't feel like it, felt like I had better stuff to do and would just send it off to a mechanic to get done. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, it got done shitty at the mechanic anyway. So, it's the YouTube's been a huge money saver as much as it's been a money spender as well. But I think it's money being spent in much better ways. And More than anything, I'm enjoying the fact that I do it with my family and I can look back on stuff more than anything. That's why I try and, if there's a bad month on YouTube, I still look back and look at moments in that month that I've had with my family. And I do share my family on my YouTube channel. So, my kids, there's over 1,000 videos on YouTube now that I've put up. So yeah, a bit over 3 years, because that would make sense. I nearly do a video a day. So yeah, nearly 4 years, 3-4 years. And, my kids are going to be able to look back. My son is 6 now, and he's essentially, to an extent, been in the background of these videos and in them for that whole time. Same with my daughter and stuff like that. And that to me is just as good as the YouTube content and making money off YouTube, etc. itself, is being able to look back on that stuff. And, it's there forever on YouTube pretty much, right? So it's, it's super cool. And my kids even go back and look at stuff. I'll catch them on YouTube and they're back looking at some old vlogs or whatever. And yeah, it's quite cool.
That's really special.
Yeah, it is. I think it is.
Because they'll look back on that as they get older as well. And they'll be like, man, look at the crazy stuff we did.
Yeah, and that is huge too. Like with this trip coming up, we haven't been to Japan since pre-COVID. Obviously, we've got 2.5 months in the US coming up, where Boston and my boy Boston and my girl Scarlett's older, not by much. She's 9, but she's at Boston's age now when we last went to Japan, and she remembers a bunch of it, where he was a baby, didn't really remember anything. He remembers a ton of the States, loves the States. He's got an absolute ton of friends. I think people probably like my kids more than me at big events. I know I joke around with Adam LZ, and I was talking to him last. He's like, are the kids coming? And I was like, when we went to Ireland, I was like, nah, the kids aren't coming. He's like, oh, okay. It's like, I like the kids more than you. And I'm like, yeah, no, I like my kids more than you too. But yeah, he's like an uncle to them, Boston and Scarlett. As soon as they know, Boston, especially if we go to the compound, he knows he's allowed on the golf carts and all that sort of stuff. So he's like the cool uncle that has all the toys. So, they're getting those crazy experiences, which again, right now isn't such a big deal because that's just their life. I think when they get older and can look back on the fact that they've traveled so much and, they go back to, like, last time we went away for a reasonably big trip, I think we were away for nearly just shy of 2 months. When we took the kids back to school, it was literally a rock star thing when they came back. Like, we took the kids into school and they got rushed and big hugs and cuddles and stuff like that. And then their teachers are pretty bloody cool at the school we're at. They showed, I think I put a video up from when we went to Disneyland in Florida, and there was a bit of that in a vlog, and the teacher asked a lot of stuff, and basically they played a good chunk of that in the class so the kids could see Scarlett's like holiday, which is freaking cool, man. Like, they don't realize now 100%. Like, they get pretty stoked when they get their little rock star moments at school, but they when they get older and having full videos of it and everything, I think it's going to be so bloody cool.
Yeah, they won't fully appreciate just how special their life is and the cool stuff that they've had the opportunities to see and do.
Yeah, just the cool, crazy stuff,
Yeah.
They don't realize, like, Boston's been at, 4 years old? He's passenger in the Corvette, smashing laps, running door to door with James Dean in a drift car, in America, in the middle of America. It's like that to normal people is not a thing, and that's super rad. And he absolutely loved it. He still talks about it now with this trip coming up. He's like, am I going to be able to go passenger in the Corvette again? Like, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, they're definitely appreciating it, but at the same time, you just know when you get older, you're just going to be like, man, that was insane. Like, how lucky as kids, especially, to be able to go and do stuff like that. I was stoked as a kid because I got to go around and passenger seat my dad's truck around Australia. I was passenger seat just bouncing along in the truck, and I'm like, this is mad. This is awesome. I even look back on it with fond memories. You know what I mean? I couldn't even imagine, like, Scarlett's been to Japan 7 times. This will be our 8th trip. Bossy's been all over the world as well now. Yeah, it's just pretty cool. And having it documented, obviously, which is one of the biggest, motivators and, awesome things behind it all.
Because that's a huge commitment. And again, to people that don't make videos, they would have no concept. But as somebody that knows a little bit about that, I understand that that's an absolute ordeal.
With kids? Oh yeah.
Oh, well, mate, it's hard enough and, you know, Eli is in here with us at the moment as well. Like he's, you know, hardcore shooter and editor. And again, you know, we get this. We know how much work it is. And when I saw you were punching out vid every day, I'm like, bloody hell. Like, are you not sleeping?
Yeah, it can get rough, and I'm lucky. I've got a super supportive wife, you know, that does a lot of work behind the scenes, and she actually helps. I'm trying to get her to edit, but it's not going to happen. But it'd be lovely. But she still helps out a ton behind the scenes, and she's been more active on the vlogs as well, which, you know, everyone loves to see a pretty girl on the videos. It's a bit demoralizing sometimes. I know there was a Matsuri set of videos I did coming up to it, and I did a video before the Matsuri because Tiana was driving as well, and it was like literally her just prepping her car. So picture of a female with a car. Then the next two videos were Matsuri, like crazy videos. I'd put tons of time. You know, I had like 5 cameras going the whole weekend, like mega editing time into it, mega, like, you know, super proud of the videos. And my wife working on the car, doing stuff all really, got more views on its own than both the videos after it, which I put so much effort into. And there's just a single camera filming my missus work on the car and me telling her, like, literally it was just changing the oil. But it's a girl, right? So
it's painful.
Yeah. It's but she's getting more involved and she understands that side of it, and you know, she's obviously happier when the bank account looks better after, you know, a month on YouTube, and understands that her being involved helps that side of things. So I'm really lucky from that point of view. Good kids, good family, you know, good kids, good wife, you know.
And you don't have to disclose any specific numbers, but you're finding YouTube worth it? Like it helps the bottom line?
It helps the bottom line. Right now, it's the only income that we've got. But that's the thing, obviously. We're obviously doing, you know, the YouTube money itself's not great, but the merch side of things helps substantially. And then there's, you know, you're working with companies, you know, kickbacks from stuff for sale and stuff like that, and percentage based, you know, recouping money that way, I guess. So you are making, you know, okay money, you know, especially for having a ton of fun. You know, you're definitely having a ton of fun. And now, you know, I guess that there's less drift events. It's actually saving me a bunch of money, you know, not having Archie and not having as many drift events, because when I had Archie, I drifted literally every week. So, you know, I was spending a ton of money on tires and fuel and stuff like that. Now I'm sort of having more fun, not more fun, but having fun modifying the cars, but not necessarily like doing a lot with my own hands and fabrication and stuff like that, where it's been good. Not spending as much money, but still bringing out some quality videos, quality content, you know, with a lot of things going on in the background. So, you know, we're trying hard. You know, it's not a full living yet by any means for a family, but I think we can get there. You know,
I have no doubt of that.
Half of it's our own fault. You know, when we don't work, as much as I've been a businessman, I'm not a great businessman from a sense of doing everything I could be doing with YouTube, etc., to monetize it. But it's definitely something I'm looking more into at the moment, is monetizing things more, trying to get, you know, more sponsors involved. You know, in the States, it's so easy. You know, it sort of makes you complacent, where Australia, again, when I say it, I've never actively reached out to sponsors. You know, I've never written a proposal. I've never done that. I've been lucky enough just to meet people and work with people, to meet a lot of the right people. But I know that, you know, you need to reach out. You know, that's part of what it is. There's a lot of guys out there that can't drive a greasy stick up a dog's ass that have sponsors. And it blows my mind. You know, they have no social media, they have no social skills, yet somehow they've convinced someone to give them money and sponsor them, you know, and that's wild to me. So, you know, that's just where that whole business side of thing comes along.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is hard, mate. And And with what you do, you're sort of just doing all the things, aren't you? Because with the merch and with the, you just got to try all the.
Yeah, no, I literally had a message from my wife just before we started this that it was something I had to sign for one of our guys. You know, I think she spent all of yesterday packing orders and doing orders, and even this morning woke up and there was more international orders. And international orders are actually pretty hard from a sense where you have to do a declaration and everything for any overseas orders. So, you know, that takes her quite a bit more time. But there was something I had to sign this morning before I left to come here, and I forgot. So, yeah.
Because they're a pain, actually, because I'm doing similar things and I'm learning similar lessons, and I can't believe how hard it is to send stuff overseas with that bloody thing you got to fill out by hand. And
yep. Yeah, Tiana's great friends with the ladies at the post office.
Oh, absolutely.
She spends so much time there now. But, you know, I can't be more thankful. You know, when you're sending stuff all over, you know, Finland, US, New Zealand, like some countries I've never heard of. You know, there was actually countries that were so small that we'd been meaning to send product. We couldn't actually send product there because of COVID. They just stopped sending. There was no parcels going there. But then the customers were like really understanding of it and all kinds of things. You know, we sent stuff all over the place. It's pretty cool, like really cool.
It's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it's lovely that you have that effect on people, that they actually go, not only do I like you, I'm going to spend my money supporting you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? It's an interesting thing because in Australia, you know, we definitely do a lot of product, but it's like overseas, there's so much more keen to support people that they like. I guess, you know, it's an interesting dynamic in Australia. I don't want to talk crap on Australia, but they definitely, I think it's probably the tip side of things in America, you know what I mean, where people are paying money for what they appreciate. That isn't necessarily a thing here.
No, it's different. And we've always had tall poppy and things like that. And
tall poppy in Australia is terrible. Like, it's probably the worst in the world. Definitely. You know, I've been everywhere, and it is probably the worst in the world here.
Where we are certainly more excited when we see people fall than
Or you see the little guy get up,
but
and do well.
Up,
but as soon as he's up,
then you got to beat him down. Again.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's very hard, and that's something that, you know, I know that you would have come up against time and again.
Constantly,
and it's just not something that we've ever gotten past as a
nation. It's wild for me as a driver here, like as a drifter. I have so much more support in America than here. You know, like I will, you know, walk through pits and stuff in the States, even at Formula Drift, you know, as a spectator, and get so much more, you know, quality time, I guess, from a point of people coming up and all that sort of jazz. And, you know, I went and watched some of the high tech on Sunday on the weekend, and, you know, it's more like, well, what is he doing here? You know, rather than saying g'day and stuff. Like, it's real strange.
Look at this legend that's here. You know, what a wonderful chance to come and say g'day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
No, it's a weird one. It really is.
It's super odd.
Yeah.
And again, mate, I don't understand it. I'm really not fully aware of why and how. And
let's, you know, it's sort of been part of my, why don't you compete in Australia? It's because I just kind of don't see the point.
And this is the big problem. And once you've got global impact, you start to realise that, again, globally, Australia is an afterthought. And this is the problem, is in terms of a market, we're not big enough to make a dent. And that is a very, very hard thing, I think, to appreciate until you've seen what global markets look like and what different marketing and operations are in other countries, and you just go, wow, like we're not even playing the same game.
Yeah, it is just a numbers game, isn't it?
It is,
more
mate.
than anything.
That's what it comes down to.
You know, my sponsors in the States can't do enough for you. You know what I mean? Like, Kansai Wheels, for one, in the States is just phenomenal. They're one of my partners over there, and you know, I've got more wheels than I can poke a stick at over there for my Corvette. You know, I travel around with 10 rears, 4 fronts, you know, full ready to go in case I damage a front, all that sort of stuff. And the last trip over, he's like, what do you need? You know, rah, rah. And I'm like, I don't need anything for my American stuff. You know, he's like, right, well, what can we do? And I'm like, I don't know, do a giveaway with the set of wheels? He's like, yep, Here's 2 sets. Do whatever you want with them. It's just like, man, just trying to get 2 sets here in this country. Forget it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like
so
it's, I'll give you a discount or whatever, but you know, for that discount, you'll have to spend $5,000 on a wrap on your car to get that discount. It's a totally different world.
It is.
Totally different world.
And it's honestly just because the metrics are so different. You know, you got 300 million over there, and then you got, what are we up to? About 28?
Yeah.
Here?
If that.
Yeah. And just at,
But they understand it as well. They understand more of where we're coming from. You know, for some reason, the Aussie ones still think that, an ad on Neighbours would get them more wheel sales or something.
Which would be even more difficult now. It is something that, look, companies are getting there, people are getting there, and the ones that are getting there now are actually getting the full advantage. So the people that are early to all this and they understand the value of a YouTuber, an influencer, an entertainer. I listen to Ian Baker say it all over and over again. I don't run an event. I'm an entertainer. That's what I do.
That's a show.
I run a show. I have to entertain. And it's always lovely to see people hit that approach to understand that that's what you're doing. And to any customer or to any company with a marketing budget, I couldn't think of anything smarter than going to somebody who produces content on a daily basis.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, I had a company reach out and they had actually worked with a friend of mine. And a friend of mine, he brings out videos sort of once a month. Gets pretty decent views, say 50, 60K on a video, roughly. Sometimes more, sometimes less. And then I obviously do stuff pretty much daily, and my stuff hovers between 10 and 20. But when I work with a product, it's not just going to be in there once. You know what I mean? And that's been an interesting thing because they were willing to pay him a ton of money to work with their product. And where they're like, oh, you're not getting the kind of views. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm in that time, I've got 200,000 views. In the time he's got 50,000 views. I know he got it on one video, but I'm going to use your product. I'm not going to use it once and then put it to the side and not show anybody anymore. So that's been an interesting one. And I've had progress with people, and they've actually went, oh, I didn't look at it that way. And I'm like, the reason I'm keen to work with you is because I'm going to use this shit all the time. It's not going to be a once off. I had a company I was working with, and they had mentioned, because I think I had their product on my 350Z, and I'd actually asked them about a product for something else, and they were sort of iffy about giving me more product. And they said, we really haven't seen the sales come through. We've only sold X amount of 350Z ones. And I was like, how are you measuring the metrics just by that particular brand, like that particular model of car? Like, if I'm telling them this product, and it's a universal product that you can put on any car, any drift car. And I'm like, think about this for a second, guys. Like, how many people are out there drifting 350Zs? And this was 6 years ago, probably. I'm like, there's probably 6 people out there driving 350Zs right now, and they're all using your product. I'm like, and what about all the rest? I get people, and this was something that you had to modify to suit your car. And, we had the chat and everything, and they came to the realizations that they were being silly about it. But it was interesting that that's how they measured their metrics, by just the kind of car I had, rather than the fact that, I was talking about their product all the time, and still to this day work with this company, and I 100% believe in their product. It's freaking phenomenal, and, it's just, we had to get on the same sort of understanding of the way things work. You're not just pushing it to that particular car if it's a universal product. So it was interesting.
It is, and that also comes down, I think, for creators taking the time to explain, because I do find that more often than not, even in significantly large companies, we'll have to explain to them how these things work. We just assume that it's common knowledge of how this stuff will roll out, and the values, and how far, and how much reach, and what it'll get, and what it'll do. But, mate, it's not common knowledge. People really don't get a lot of this still.
No, 100% they don't. And it's, yeah, I think it's brand recognition just as much as it's, the actual sales immediately as well. That's so hard to put the metrics on. Like,
correct.
You talking about something all the time, and as a trusted person to them, it's in their head and it's stuck in their head from now on. It's like they might not buy it tomorrow, they might not buy it next week, but next year when they've got their tax return in and they're looking to splurge some cash, that's 100% on. That's the product they're going to get. So it's pretty cool. I think it's interesting, the whole dynamics behind everything, even though I'm shit at it. I think, from a sense of what I do, I should probably be talking with more sponsors and making things like that happen for myself more. But there's only so many hours in the day.
There are, mate. And you've got to focus on the things that you're good at and the things that you believe in and just lean into those. And the rest of it comes.
Yeah, and I think a big thing for me is I'm good at being a dad. And there's a lot of times where I'll be in situations where there should be something work-related and I just want to hang out with my kids. Especially, they're both getting pretty into BMX right now. And as a ex-pro BMXer, man, like, I get so proud. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm just throwing everything to the side right now. And when my boy hits me up, he's like, want to go to the skate park, Dad? And I'm like, right? Like, everything gets dropped. And I'm like, let's go to the skate park. I'm like, I know you're down for it right now. Like, let's go. I know these are the times that I need to support what he's doing and just drop everything in mine and go. And it's sick. Like, I'm getting so freaking pumped going down there. Both of them. My little girl as well. She's a shredder. So it's just super rad.
And that is special, mate. Having the capacity to do that is something that is wonderful for you, wonderful for them, and something that you'll never regret.
Yeah. And the cool thing is I get to ride with them. I think it's pretty rad. I'm going to, skate park and pump tracks now, and you get a ton of parents, and I sit there having a chat and that, and then I'll pull my bike out and start riding as well. And you sit down with the other parents and they're like, wow. Okay, and you have the chin wags with them and stuff, and they're like, I wish I could do that with my kid. And it's like, you could at least roll around with them. It's sort of your choice, but it is actually rad, sitting there with my boy and pumping in, and it's interesting. My son and my daughter were getting BMX training for a while there because they wouldn't listen to me, but they listened to an old friend of mine who does BMX training. Where now we've got to the point where they'll listen to Dad. So I'm pretty stoked on that. And, we don't have to have the lessons. We don't have to pay for the lessons anymore that, Dad could have 100% taught them, but they just weren't listening to Dad because why would you listen to Dad?
Yeah. What does he know?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. They would pull up old YouTube videos of, my BMX stuff and show their friends, but then we'd go to the skate park and they'd be like, don't listen to Dad. Like,
and look, I think the cool part about that is, being able to roll out and they go, Dad's a gangster.
Yeah. No, they're definitely starting to realize that a little bit more, especially my boy. We're at the skate park the other day, and there's some kids there that, worked out who I was and stuff and watched the vlogs and everything. And Bossy, he was just on the top of the world. He was like, you could tell, you know what I mean? You could tell how, like, he was the little king there, and like, the other kids were going up to him and heaps, and he started like riding in their trains because they were bigger kids, they were teenage boys, and Bossy's 6, so but he started into their trains and stuff like that. But it's sick influence for my boy. He's getting to hang out with the bigger kids, and they're actually giving him respect, and he's getting to ride with them and stuff, and super rad for him. I get super pumped on it,
and that's the coolest. I think that's actually really lovely, mate.
Yeah, you get a ton of that. I think you don't realize, like, I'm 40 now, but there is a ton of younger people that watch the vlogs. But I also know there's a ton of middle-aged guys that sort of watch the vlogs as well and enjoy the fact that I do stuff with my family, and they don't see, unfortunately for some guys, it's made them think that having a family might be easy. When they see you doing stuff and hanging out with your kids and, making it work, not only doing the vlogging, running a business, having a wife and kids and making it all work. And I don't know, maybe sometimes the YouTube might make it look like it's easy. It's definitely not, but it definitely helps people understand that when you have a family, it doesn't have to stop your fun by any means whatsoever. You know, your kids and your family can absolutely be involved in having that fun. So, you know, the having a kid's not party over. You know, getting married's not party over. It's been where the party started for me.
Well, you got to make choices, don't you? That's the thing. You decide which things are most important.
Yeah, but it's, you know, a lot of people were making, you know, do make those decisions based on, you know, what they'll be able to do. Like, oh, if I have a kid, I'm not going to be able to go do this. I'm not going to be able to travel. I'm not going to be able to do all these. You know, I won't be able to afford a race car if I have kids and blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, I only ever had a daily driver skid car. And it was when I had a kid, it made me get up more off my ass and make more stuff happen and, you know, get track cars and finally got my first trailer and blah, blah, blah. You know, I'd never had any. I had the whole professional drifting career and never had my own personal, like, track car.
Because I'd actually love to use that as a segue to go back to your professional drift career, because I obviously missed Drift Australia. I only sort of got myself involved at the back end of that when drift had sort of collapsed into a heap. But all I knew about you was you were unbeatable. That was all I knew about Luke Fink and drifting, is you were just a weapon of the Australian scene. And I'd love to sort of know, you obviously came in, busted, but how did it really all kick off for you?
Drifting?
Yeah.
Kind of just street drifting. In Melbourne, there was Calder Park, but there was very, very few and far between. I couldn't really afford it, and I was more of a shithead that just wanted to go drifting. And I just got hyper fixated on it. I think that's just my personality, get hyper fixated on things that I really enjoy. So I was literally, just because that's all there was, you know, I didn't necessarily have the track, but we were street every night, you know what I mean? Out perfecting my craft basically. Just by chance ended up buying my second ever Jap car, because I started drifting in a VL. That's what I actually started in. And my second choice of car that I wanted as far as a drift car went, when I started getting into drifting, I really badly wanted a 32 four-door, but couldn't find one. My second choice was a Nissan Silady, so Sylvia Front 180 SX. Couldn't find the four-door, so I ended up buying a Silady, and then it was sort of, my girlfriend at the time crashed my Silady, come around a corner, hit boost, went off the road, hit a big fence. And I was trying to find a fuel flap, and some buddies of mine I go to that Holford's place. They have a heap of Japanese parts, and they were only 20 minutes from my house. I'd never heard of them. I went there, sure enough, sitting dead out the front, 32 four-door, just fresh in the country, hadn't even been complied or anything yet. I couldn't afford it at all. I gave him a $500 deposit on the spot. It was all I had. And I'm like, and I got the fuel flap that I needed, and I was like, I will find a way. And, you know, put the Silady for sale immediately. But Dom from Holford's told me he needed some time anyway, because they still had to comply the car and all that sort of jazz. So, you know, it was probably a month I had to make everything sort of work. And in that time, I ended up working a ton of overtime. So I was going in there and giving him a decent chunk of cash every week and having a little chin wag while I was there, just seeing what they're all about, because the place was crazy. This was when importing was, you know, at its peak. You know what I mean? They were getting containers of front cuts and everything was worth nothing back then as well. And, you know, it's just super rad to see all this cool stuff. And anyway, got the 32 four-door, had the number plates on it, D1 Taxi. Of the plates I put on it, and they got pretty well known. You know, if you're an old school guy from Melbourne, well, even the meets to this day still run, but I started the West meets in Melbourne, and they're still a big thing, but they were definitely huge back then. Like, I'm talking thousands. It was wild, you know, and talking like 20, 30 cars drifting, like proper, like movie stuff, you know, and got super well known. And again, I wasn't just out drifting. You know, on those nights, I was driving all the way over the east side and up in the hills and all this sort of stuff. So I ended up getting pretty known on the streets, and I had a Holford sticker on the car on the back window. And he would let me come in, and I started to get to know Dom from Holford's a bit more, and he was letting me take all his snow tires, because they technically had to be destroyed because they weren't legal for Australian roads. He was letting me take all these snow tires and letting me fit them at the store. But then he was having customers and people come in being like, I saw this 32 with a Holford sticker on it, going nuts, like not in a negative way, being like, that guy's out there killing it, blah, blah, blah. And I turned up to Holford's one day and just having a chin wag with him, and he showed me this picture of this race car he was getting, and I'm sort of like, I'll drive it, and thought nothing of it. And I was still riding BMX at the time, and I actually went across to, this is probably a month later, I went across to Thailand. And I was in Thailand, I was meant to be there for 3, ended up staying there for 4 months, but I was teaching BMX over there for the Asian Indoor Games, which is part of the Olympics. So Thailand, the actual Thailand government was paying me to be there. It's pretty cool. Anyway, while I was there, my dad wanted to buy a Sora, a V8 Sora. Like, he's always been an Aussie car guy. It was the weirdest thing ever. He had a XR8U, and he's a big Ford guy. For some reason, while I was overseas, he wanted a Sora and ended up buying it from Whole Foods. They were doing the paperwork, and obviously Dom from Holford's. Can you hear that in there, or do you want me to stop?
Oh, no, Ipswich Road, mate. It's all right. Just keep it going.
Dom from Holford's had wondered where I was, because I was in there every week. I was in there getting tyres and, you know what I mean, he telling him the stories and this and that. And he went in there, they're doing the paperwork, and Dom from Holford's had, he's like, you don't know Luke Fink, do you? And my dad was like, yeah, it's my son. Like, what's he done now? Because obviously, when I started getting into drifting, my old man's just like, you're a fucking idiot. You're just wrecking your cars. You had new tyres every week. You're spending all this money on wrecking your cars, basically. He did not understand that. That wasn't, my old man was a tyre shine, polish, keep it nice sort of thing. He definitely wasn't into that side of things. Into cars, but not into wrecking them as he saw it. And yeah, Dom was like, I want him to drive my race car. My dad was just like, what the hell? So my old man called me in Thailand, and even me, it took me off guard, because I'm like, I hadn't been on the track. I was just a street drifter. And yeah, Dom had, my dad rang me first and said, this bloke wants you to drive his race car. I'm like, what are you talking about? Who? What? Like, what? What are you, like, are you drinking? Or and anyway, ended up giving Dom my number. Dom ended up calling me, and yeah, that the rest was history. He asked me to drive the car, and I said, I absolutely can't afford that. What happens if I crash it? Like, I can't afford to fix that. He's like, no, that's, like, obviously don't try and crash it, but if you do, we'll fix it, and rah. And yeah, just reassured me that I wasn't going to be, financially ruined because of it. And yeah, that was it. Started driving for Dom. And we ended up doing one like state event, which the car was still kind of pretty, it just landed in the country, but I think it was just a D1 street legal car. It was a little, so what a lot of people don't know with the Holford's cars, we actually had 2 Holford's cars. There was the first one, which was the Series 1 S14 that if you're OG, you'll remember. But then there was the green one that everybody knew about. But previous to that green one, there was a sort of greeny blue one, which was just a D1 street legal car, which is the one I did my first national event in and won in. But that was a very basic car. Cool looking, but a very basic car that had come over from Japan. And our impressions of the car were, this thing's going to have some sick alignment in it. Like, we didn't want to touch anything. We're like, right. It got chucked on the dyno, made sure it was safe, and we took it to the first event. Threw it in, and I think I ended up, did I either not qualified or spun out in the top of the first battles or something along those lines. And then we ended up getting the car back, and I was like, I've done a lot of drifting at this point. I've been drifting for like a year, but I knew what was a good car and what wasn't. And I was like, this car's not right. There's something wrong with this car. So ended up putting on the alignment rack. Turned out everything, both back wheels were pointing one way, like a lot. So the car was basically just completely whacked out alignment wise. And, we just thought it was going to have some magical Japanese alignment in it, because it was still this was, 2006, I think. So, that was way back, when you could use 235 radials and be competitive. And anyway, with the Holfords team, and it just snowballed from there. You know, we ended up, becoming Australian champions twice. And, you know, there was a year there where, because you're working with Rob, obviously, and there was, you know, just battle after battle. And, you know, even to the point where we had Hawkins, you know, pull me aside. He's like, can you just stop winning? And I was like, what do you say to that? He's like, it's not as good for TV and stuff if you're winning every event. And I was sort of like, well, everyone else has to drive better. Which sounds like a douchey thing to say, but it's like, you can't. Well, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to just throw a spin and make myself look silly, or where do you want me to go from this? It's not like we had barely any sponsorship money whatsoever. You know, we'd go out some events and only do like 2 practice laps before qualifying, and that was it because we didn't have enough tires. We never did any testing whatsoever. We never did testing. Sorry, I lie. We did testing one single time ever. The whole time I drove for Holfords, we did one testing day. And that was, halfway through the green car. You know, I can't remember. I think it was actually Yokohama was going to sponsor us. But what they were wanted to sponsor us with was tires. They'd done a ton of tires for the V8 Utes. And then something had gone wrong with their sponsorship deal, or they went to Dunlop or something along those lines. So Yokohama just had a ton of tyres that were meant to be for the V8 Utes, and they were like a 245 something or other, and they paid for us to go out and test them. And the tyres were sick, but they wouldn't last. They barely lasted a lap. They just were too soft. So we didn't make that deal. Didn't end up happening. But that was the one test day we ever did. So.
Because that was the crazy thing. You were just untouchable. That was the biggest thing. Was you just drove in a manner where people couldn't get close to you. They couldn't challenge you, and you did. You were walking all over everybody. It was astonishing to watch.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is we weren't a big money team, but we were struggling honestly, like to make ends meet to get to these events and do the events, but the boys were so like focused on making it good. You know, even though we were a real budget team, simple things like, you know, we had all our jacks and our toolboxes and tire racks and everything all painted to match the car, which, you know, cost maybe $20 to do, you know, slap some paint on, but it all looked very professional and cool. You know what I mean? And, you know, it felt, honestly, still to this day, was one of the most professional outfits I've ever been involved with. You know, Dom and the boys were just so good. You know, they had my back at every point. There was never, you know, a time there where they blamed, you know, something that happened on me, you know. Actually, no, I lied. There was one. And I only remember this very real because that would have been pre your time when the Auto Salon car was around, the big chrome Auto Salon car, which is still around and was at Queensland Raceway yesterday. I flicked an entry and ran into the side of that car, and I said the car just cut power. And, you know, we'd had this car just off the dyno, like everything was good on this car. And I crashed into the side of the Auto Salon car in battle, and we couldn't work out what it was. And it wasn't until the following season, and it's not like the boys were like dirty on me or anything, but I felt terrible. I'm positive I didn't do something wrong. The car just didn't go. You know, I kicked the clutch. It just didn't light the tires off like it should have. It gripped up and spat me sort of into the side of their car. And it wasn't until, I think it was like 8-9 months later, we finally putting the car on the dyno to get it ready for the next season. And turned out I had, when I changed gear into third gear, the boost controller was right in front of where my knuckles were. And I'd actually turned the boost controller off and it went to wastegate spring. And that's why I had binned the car. But it was, the boys were like, they weren't like, no, you know, you fucked up, like rah. They were sort of like, oh, you know, there was nothing wrong with the car. You know what I mean? You just messed up. And I'm like, I'm sure I didn't. Hey, like, you know, I did. And as much I do, for some reason, people think I wreck cars, but the Holfords car, the whole time I had the thing, I broke like a tail light. I lost one side skirt, and when I had a power steering go one time, I broke a mirror and dented a door, and that was it. You know what I mean? As far as damage, cosmetically. So it was like it was a big deal when I had any sort of like crash, you know. And even though the crash didn't wreck any of my car, it put a pretty big ding in the AutoSalon car. The damage on the floor is still there, as I pointed out to my kids yesterday. When I say it's still there, you can see the crinkles in the floor where they've pulled the floor back. But he had a carbon fiber door, so the carbon door flexed in, and my wheel had hit the sill and just pushed all the sill in. So no, it was a more interesting one, and yeah, it turned out I'd flicked the boost controller off. So yeah, again, the boys didn't blame me, but they were just a phenomenal team. You know, all the boys there. Yeah, we had Kyle, Ginga, yeah, Dom, and yeah, they're just bloody awesome people. You know, we had a great tiny little team making it happen, and yeah, it was cool. We had a lot of good battles. And then when Rob came about, Rob was, you know, a decent opponent and could definitely get up there and mix it a bit. And you know, it was cool. It was good times.
Mate, that was a cracking year, because that was Andrew Hawkins' ADGP that year. That was sort of my first chance to get a look at how all the big boys did it.
And ADGP really started off good. You know, I feel like ADGP started off really good. Drift Australia was trying to be V8 supercars, which it was phenomenal, and the production quality of their TV stuff and everything was super good, but they were trying to be V8 supercars, you know, and that, you know, they should have been going X Games, not V8 supercars. You know, that I think drifting really needs to be pushed more X Games style rather than racing style. And then, you know, Hawkins started ADGP, and, you know, he had to properly qualify, which was one thing for for Drift Australia. You essentially owned a license. So there's a lot of people just like making up the numbers there. And, you know, your top 32 and your top 16 battles, you were sort of like, yeah, right. It's like trying to dodge a plastic bag when you're driving down the road. You know what I mean? They just were shockers. And then, you know, eventually top 4, you'd have a handful of really good drivers there, and it was, you know, decently competitive up at the top. But, you know, down the bottom there, you could get knocked out because you just couldn't avoid, you know, someone that wasn't very good. Where ADGP, it was full qualifying. You know, I think, you know, we're having like 40 drivers or whatever or more in the early days there signing up for the event. So when you had your top qualifiers, you really were top qualifiers. It was a big field, and everybody, you know, earned their spot. So the driving was really cool. Andrew was doing a really good job of, you know, making the videos and, you know, making characters out of us all, etc., which I think we need, you know, that motocross style, you know, that more motocross style of things. You know, building or more so emphasizing, what do you call it? You know, rivalries. So rivalries, not punch-ons, rivalries. And, you know, giving the fans something to follow, you know, where before it was sort of more V8 supercar-ish and didn't suit drifting as well, where Hawkins was doing a really good job. But, yeah, ADGP early days definitely was super good.
It was wild. And when they brought Formula Drift over here as well and did that event at Calder, like the whole thing, there was some really great stuff. And even going over to WA, the fact that we ended that year at Barbagallo with drifting, it was just, that was awesome.
Yeah, no, it was mental times. And what was at that time? I think that was the year my car didn't turn up in time. And I think I got one lap and then qualifying, and there's a lot of good ones, good times back then. But yeah, it just doesn't really have the same vibes. I went to High Tech yesterday, and it's like there was no one there. It's very strange. You know, it was so hyped and so good back then, and you know they were doing such a good job of advertising it and pushing it out there, and there was a lot more drivers doing it. So there's things are a bit lost at the moment as far as, you know, for me, we were running Drift Challenge Australia before COVID, and those events were pumping. You know, they were wild. You know, we had some massive crowds, always 50 plus drivers, you know, so you were getting a crazy battles. And yeah, we haven't picked the ball up again since COVID, because everything's got so expensive and so much more risky. It's kind of tough to want to push back into that space.
And that's the thing, you've done your fair share of organising events, and wouldn't hurt to have a breather from that for a while.
Yeah, it's pretty much where I'm at. It's again, since stopping, I went from, running a national drift series and a bunch of other, national events, as well as driving myself internationally, and then taking over Archie and building that up to what it was, and, running twice a week. Since closing, it's been, like I said, it's felt like a holiday. It's not like I haven't been doing anything. I've still been insanely busy, but the amount of stress that's been off my shoulders is wild. Like, I didn't even realize until I don't have it anymore, it's very hard to explain. And as much as it was amazing running a track, there was so much shit in the background that we were dealing with to make that place happen. That was just so hard, so much harder than it should have been. And that's the problem. That was the tough part. It wasn't just simple things. There was so much like a lot of people wouldn't even know. We had 20, was it 20 normally? What are normally your normal insurance you'd have for an event, like 10 million or
public
something?
Liability, 20's generally for motorsport
Yeah, we
stuff.
had 40.
Of course you did.
Because the Speedway just decided that we need that for our drifting, where no one's ever died drifting professionally or on a track, and barely anyone's ever been injured on a track drifting. But he decided that we needed double the amount of insurance he has for cars that flip upside down and wheels come off and hit crowd people, and just stuff like that. It was just like, extra 10 grand a year on insurance for absolutely no reason other than they woke up one day and decided that's what we needed. There was a whole bunch of that we had to deal with. So it was a whole different dynamic on top of, I think the council problems were only a fraction of the issues we were dealing with there. So yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
Oh, mate, it's exhausting to just think about, let alone having to actually deal with it.
Yeah.
No wonder you seem so bloody happy.
Yeah. Well, when we first took it over there, you knew who Barry was.
Yeah.
Oh, he tried to screw us over so bad. He claimed that he owned everything there and tried to sell us a bunch of stuff that he didn't even own. Some of it he got away with. Yeah, he did us for about 10 grand worth of stuff that, wasn't his. So, yeah, it's all good.
It's rough, mate. And it is rough. But I'm really excited to see where you're taking all of this now as well, because obviously I've been chatting to you for a while trying to get you on here. And then the news about your Falcon to Japan jumped up because you've been doing your Corvette stuff over in the States. And I had Travis Roberts on here as well, and he was chatting about some of the mad stuff that you've done there. But it was interesting to me to see Street Machine picking up on the fact that you're taking your Falcon. For it to hit, I guess, what is even more mainstream news, I was actually reasonably surprised at that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty rad. They're definitely... Street Machine, in their own words, is not into drifting. But just taking a Ford Falcon there, that's what they're interested in. And the fact that the plans is to drive it on the road before we take it to Ibisu. So the plans at the moment are to go to all those bucket list locations. We want to take it, to, Initial D Mountain, park it in the car spot for Initial D. We want to take it to Daikoku, Futo, roll in there with a Falcon. And we're going to make the Falcon look pretty cool, to be fair. And, the thing with the Japanese people, they love different stuff. And so I know the Japanese people are going to absolutely love this thing. For the Aussies, they're like, why would you take a Falcon there? It's like, to me, all the Japanese cars in Japan now that we love are so bloody expensive. And the fact is you're going there to drift. You know what I mean? Like, I don't particularly want to spend 25, 30, 40 grand on a beautiful JZX. And you'd be terrified to run doors and stuff like that. Where I've got a Falcon that, pre me spending too much money on it, I initially only bought the car for 3 grand. The car probably, by the time we send it, will owe me 10, but that's still a fraction of what you're paying for a car over there. And it's shaken down. We're actually taking it out tomorrow to Queensland Raceway to do some testing in the car with the new gearbox and clutch and stuff we put in it. And I think that's just it's just super cool. And there's, we give these cars well, not we, but a lot of people, you know, oh, it's Aussie car, it's crap, this and that, you know, it's no good. But like my Falcons literally drives better than my JZX. And that's insane. Like I've got Shockworks coilovers in that car, and we've had some like steering work and stuff like that. We've done even more work now to the rear end to get more grip out of it. It's a good car. Like brand aside, it's a good car. It works. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's a Ford. Your door handles are going to break. Your windows probably don't work and all the normal Ford Falcon things. But mechanically and like the way it handles, the thing's pretty sick. And there's no way, like I could chuck... My buddy came over from the States and he has a Corvette as well. He loved the Falcon. He's like, this thing is sick. It feels so agile, which sounds weird because it's a Falcon, right? But mine's had a lot of weight taken out and stuff, and it does feel good. You know, we're only on a small tire and the thing's still fast, you know? So it's like, it didn't make sense to me to take any of my Japanese cars back to Japan. You know, I was considering taking my 370 back to Japan. Oh, not back, you know, it's an Aussie delivered car, but, you know, taking a 370 to Japan, you know, it's interesting that you're taking a car over there, but not interesting like taking a Falcon. And I think that's just going to be bloody sick, you know, driving it on the road, being able to do that stuff, and with my kids. So we built the cage with the back seat still in. So we are going to be, as a family, there with my wife, with my 2 kids. We're going to go to Disneyland. We're going to do all of that sort of stuff in Tokyo and Japan in a Falcon. It's just going to be insane. You know what I mean? Like I'm going 2.5 months in America to cruise around in my freaking Escalade with my Corvette on the back and go to LS Fest, which was one of the craziest events in the US for motorsport, like for cars in general. Like it's massive. What do you call it? When I first get there, this big bash I'm going to, which is the No Coast Bash, which is insane. Like makes our Matsuri look like a baby thing. It's like 400 entrants. They've got bands. It goes for 3 days in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You can do whatever you want. Like we're just down the road from where Breaking Bad's filmed. The guy that is part owners of the track does a lot of stunts for Breaking Bad. You know, I've been there and we've gone shooting at the spots where they film Breaking Bad, blah, blah, blah. Albuquerque's very Wild West. You can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? So there's every chance. All these race cars are just going to be driving down to restaurants and just drinking and all this sort of... It's loose. All the videos I've seen, it's just one of those things where it's bucket list. And the first thing we're doing when we're over there is going to that event. Adam LZ's event up in Canada. We're doing all these sick events. And man, I'm just so excited about this bloody Falcon in Japan.
Oh, dude. And again,
It's ridiculous.
I'm a Falcon guy through and through. I have nothing but love for those beautiful old Australian made cars. And when I saw that, now you've got a BA Falcon, am I correct?
Mate, BF.
BF Falcon. I was close.
You know, she's very different. Mate. You know, there's a little bit on the front bumper that's different.
Yeah, much more.
I think
modern.
that's it.
Barra.
Yeah, Barra. NA Barra.
NA Barra.
No Turbskis.
What?
Yeah.
What?
So reliability, I think, was something I'm stressing about for this trip. Very much so. The car's going to be living in Japan, don't get me wrong, but I've had this car for a decent amount of time and we've done a ton of laps in it, and my wife actually blew it up doing a burnout while it was NA. Mind you, high K is like 400k motor in it. But we'd put a fresh motor in it. We'd made sure this new motor's all good and everything. And NA, we're making I think it's like 190 or nearly 200 kilowatts, which is nothing groundbreaking by any means, but it's enough. And especially for tracks like Ibisu, a majority of the drift sections are downhill. Like it's not a power place necessarily. My first trip to Ibisu, for instance, was in a NA S14. And I had no dramas, you know, drifting everything I wanted to drift and having a bloody good time doing it. And everybody, even all the guys that have JZX 100s there, which is most of the people that I want to drive with and most of my friends, they're just running a stock JZX 100, stock turbo, you know, on, 12 PSI, just enough for it to be reliable. But they're only making probably 250 horsepower, 300 horsepower, I'm not going to be far off that NA because I got a big 4-litre Barra. So that's sort of where I thought I'd keep it. Super reliable. You know, I shouldn't have any temp issues, all of that sort of stuff. And I didn't want to last minute turbo up before it goes and then chase those issues. E85 isn't a thing in Japan, you know, so I'm only running on their, which they have 100 octane, but you're still not, you know, E85, you know, that's what makes the turbo stuff so good here in this country. Not saying I don't want to go turbo route. I'm hoping that this brings enough attention to the Falcon being over there where I have some Australian companies that want to get it on board and build, you know, a sick Barra for this car. I think we've put everything in place. That's all our work we've put in place in the last couple of weeks have been preparing this car for potentially a big dog motor in the future. You know, with the cage we've done is, I think, about 4 bars away from being a FD legal cage. So that's sort of potentially on the cards in the future is doing FD Japan in a Ford Falcon, which is just, it's going to be super cool if we can make that happen. Even just to drive the tracks they're using for FD Japan, you know, like imagine a Falcon on Fuji. Like it's just... absolutely ridiculous, you know what I mean? And I just think it'd be super cool. So everything we have in place now, we've got the big TR6060 gearbox, which literally cost me more than I paid for the car. The initial manual BF Falcon that I bought for $3,000. The gearbox setup I just bought was $4,000. So, but we have that. We have the full territory rear end, which is the big axles, the big diff, you know, everything we need there to be super strong. We've gone full custom dual caliper setup, which is one of only 2 Falcons I know. So we're sort of developing stuff at the same time. It's a dual caliper setup that my buddy Frosty Fabrication's doing, which is a product that he's going to be able to offer now. He spent a bunch of time the other day building this setup and using it all with a GKTR handbrake and stuff. So, you know, keeping with my Australian companies there. But, you know, we're just putting everything in place to make this thing an absolute weapon, but it's still just going to have a little NA Barra in it. X-Force extractors, X-Force exhaust on there, and just the Barra. Just a little Barra on its own now. But me, honestly, in the future, you know, if we get some, you know, good... and I really do. I want Australian companies on board for this thing. You know, I want to be able to be like, yeah, this is the stuff. And Barras are getting popular in the US. There's absolutely no reason why Barras can't get popular in Japan. You know, and I think that Japanese are going to be pretty interested to, you know, see under the bonnet. I know Barras have been sent. I know at least one Barra was sent over to one of the tuning companies in Japan for them to sort of play with it. But I don't know if anything came much of that. So it'll just be interesting to see how they look at the Barra, because it is just a big 2J, right? You know, it's a big block. So it'll be interesting to see how they look at it. And, you know, I think an ideal situation would be my dream Barra is like a de-stroked. So they de-stroke the Barras down to a 3.6 so they can rev. And guys are making some pretty nutty power and actually revving them so they sound cool and stuff like that. And you put that setup in with what we've already got there, it's going to be a pretty potent little car. You know, it's got all the adjustable arms that you need. It has buckets of lock. You know, it's got the cage. I've got the homologated seats. I've got everything's there to be this like crazy car. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we end up going with it and what ends up happening down the line. But the car's going there to live. So it's not coming home. She's going to be Japan's Falcon now. So yeah, it's all very, very exciting. And yeah, I think it's, you know, Street Machine are happy. They're keen to follow the whole thing. They're going to be doing more stories as we go along as well, updating essentially what's happening, and they're super keen to see pictures of this thing in Japan in those famous spots, talking with the guys there. And yeah, it's just something extremely unique, I guess, and that's why it appealed. And, you know, again, like I said, with the YouTube thing, it does give you those pushes to do those like silly things, because at the end of the day, if you're taking a Falcon to Japan and no one knows about it, then it's a cool thing for yourself, but no one gets to really experience that with you. I think the fact that I'm going to be able to take my audience along for that ride of turning up in Japan, and like I'm still dreaming of it now, just trying to even fathom that car sitting in my driveway. Well, it's sitting at Frosty's now. is going to be in Japan in November, you know, and I'm potentially going to be landing in Tokyo and going to wherever the car is. It's either going to be in Yokohama or Tokyo, but being able to travel there, chuck all our shit in the Falcon and go and drive wherever we want around Tokyo and go to Moon Eyes in Yokohama and just like insanity. That just to drive a car that I've been driving here, I think is just going to be mental. And I think is also going to open the floodgates for other people to do it. I've already had a lot of people, including Japanese people that live in Japan, Samet being one of them, is like, get me one. I want one to come over with you. And I'm like, after me, champion. I want to be the one doing this first. And then, mate, I'll help you bring as many Falcons as you want over. But I'm doing it first. But the amount of people that are hitting me up that are interested, and not just for Falcons by any means, their drift cars that they have here, Sylvias and whatnot, they just don't want to risk going over there and spending a ton of money on a car that might just blow up. You do hear stories all the time from people at Ibisu, and we've had it ourselves with the R32 we bought, which we just had nothing but dramas. We spent most of our time at Ibisu fixing the damn car. And it is a nightmare, really, because the only reason you've gone there is to get some drifting practice and drive these cool places, and all you've done the whole time is work on cars. So, you know, being able to take your own vehicle that you know is good and you know everything about it, you know every nut and bolt, you've done all the mods, and it's there, like it's a dream for a lot of people. So I think that really is going to be something going forward we're going to see a ton more of.
Now, I also have to ask the question, you had an opportunity to fly the flag of the AU Falcon. Mate, tell me why it's not an AU, the pinnacle of Australian engineering and manufacturing.
All right. Do you know what it is with AUs? This is what I relate AUs to. AUs are jet skis. Okay, you know what the relation is? When you got a jet ski and you're just driving around on your own on your jet ski, it's nice. You can have some fun. It's kind of boring. Yeah? Kind of like, yeah, it's nice. It's a nice day. I'm having a bit of fun. But when you go out with your buddies on jet skis and they've all got jet skis as well and you're splashing each other and running amok, that's your AU. You know, that's when you've got a bunch of other buddies in AUs and you're there beating the shit out of each other and on the run-up, literally nudging them down the run-up because they're not going fast enough and you're like, you need to go faster, mate. Like pushing each other along and running amok. Like that's when AUs are in their prime. Other than that, then, you know, they're good, they work and everything, but that's where their fun is, where genuinely the Falcon now, it's the handling is phenomenal from a point of view of, you know, I guess it's a newer car and you spend a bit more money. Where you got Dave from AU House and his AU actually is phenomenal, but it was a ton of work to get it to where it is, where, you know, the BAs, if you look at the front suspension of a Falcon and the AU upwards, they're very, very similar to a JZX, extremely similar to a JZX. However, the Falcon's actually better. The lower control arm on a Falcon looks like a Wisefap arm. It's literally an arm that sort of comes like that, so it allows a ton of steering angle stock. You know, and an AU and a BA even, they have pretty good lock stock. Like they've got more lock stock than any Sylvia shit has. You know, so off the showroom floor, they work better, you know, and then you couple that with the 4-litre Barra, which is a newer motor, you get the better gearboxes, better rear ends and all that sort of stuff. It just made more sense with a later model car and it'll hurt some feelings, but the BF's definitely better looking. It was a consideration to do an AU front swap on it. I actually looked into it, embarrassingly. I actually looked into an AU front swap and found out it wasn't that easy. So, yeah, I did consider it.
You're a true believer and you're doing good things for the Falcon, so I can't be too hard on you for that. But I did need to know the answer for myself.
There's AU doors on it. So, you know, I'd put some AU windy doors on the back because I want it to be lighter and the windy doors are lighter than the electric doors. And I wanted less sort of hassle with the car, so windy door. I've been trying to find AU windy front doors, so wind up window style instead of electric. I haven't had any luck. So I've got some electric AU doors, which are going on the front. So they're the same doors.
Yeah, so look, it's an AU at heart.
It's an AU in the middle.
It's an AU in the middle.
It's an AU in the middle.
Where it counts.
There's some AU there. That's all that counts. But no, it's a great little car, and people that have driven it have actually just been super surprised by how good it is and how good it feels, which is so strange getting in a Falcon. And my AU was a laugh. Again, it was the jet ski though. You know, it had big angle, and you could just. It was more the fact that you could beat the shit out of it. That was fun, you know, rather than the you know, it wasn't like a great feeling car. It wasn't like you got out being like, oh my God, that thing's amazing. It's like, no, it's a piece of shit. But I was out there with all my mates and they're pieces of shit, and we were running each other's doors, and we didn't have to care, and it was so cool from that point of view. That was the enjoyable part of beating the AUs around, you know. It was super good fun. But then to a lot of people, their AUs, they put a lot of time and money and effort into them, and they were their Mona Lisas. So, yeah, horses for courses. I couldn't justify spending good money on an AU. Still an AU, so
it's all right,
there wasn't any big money being spent on any AUs. You know, I couldn't justify buying, you know, $2,000 coilovers for an AU, where having $2,000 coilovers in the BF made sense.
It does, and look, I can't be offended by any of this. I just think it's wonderful that there's this car going over, and on that plate it says Ford Australia Proprietary Limited. And I think that, and I'm stoked. I am stoked that you've made such a silly project happen, that you've got a company like Street Machine following it along, where, as you said, you know, drifting, it's not their bag. Like,
not at all, no.
So for them, that's why I was so surprised. When I saw you share that article, I'm like, what?
Yeah, I think the only other drift car I've really seen in there would have been John's XY from Melbourne. He has the XY with the LS in it. I think he's had a couple pictures and stuff in Street Machine and some stories on his Falcon, but it's an XY. That is Street Machine. Like, you know, you think there's like Monaras and XYs. That's maybe some Tiranas, but that's Street Machine. Yeah, like, so, you know, you expect that, where this is a late model plastic bumper car, and yeah, they're still pretty interested. So that's super cool. And yeah, they're more than happy to continue running stories on it as we go along. So yeah, I can't wait to see where this whole adventure sort of takes us. I think it definitely has the potential to be, you know, I guess to the Australian audience, you know, to everyone else, they think it's a cool car. You know, even the Americans, they see them and they're like, oh, they look pretty cool, you know, and they got a barrow in them. Like, that's cool as hell, you know. I had my one of my American buddies come over and bought an AU, and he wants to take it back to Texas. He absolutely loved his AU, but it was an ace. He paid $5,000 for it. Like coilovers, like good clutch, good steering, like pretty rad AU. And he fully plans to take that back to Texas. We're going to make that happen for him. But my buddy Grant, who was over here recently, he's got an M3 and all kinds of like super rad road cars in the US, as well as his drift cars and stuff. And we took him for a ride in a XR6 Falcon Ute, auto. He loved it. He was like, these things are so sick. Why didn't we get them in America? Like, they look sick. They go amazing. He's like, why didn't we get these things? And I think it's probably an interesting one. So we really need to remember that a JZX 100, for instance, are just a Commodore or a Falcon in Japan. You know, what we're all putting on a godly level, you know, which I could have bought a really nice Falcon or really, really nice Commodore with double or triple the power my Toyota JZX 100 has for what I paid for that. You know, it's actually like depressing to think about how much of a nicer car I probably could have got, but I wanted the GDM boy car, you know. The Aussie cars at that same price, at the 40K price, I could have got myself, which is still one of my dream cars, is a VZ Club Sport. I love a VZ Club Sport. I think they're just a gorgeous car and quite cool. You know, but they're just a Commodore to us. You know, it's just a Commodore, it's just a Bogan car. Just a Falcon, it's a Bogan car. But you take any of those cars elsewhere and they froth them, you know. Like you go, you know, a Maloo anywhere in the world, they see a Maloo and they're like, oh my God, that is amazing. You know, all of my American buddies, you know, I got a buddy of mine last time he was here, and my a friend came over with his cammed, supercharged VSS Ute, and they were just blown away. They were like, I would 100%. He goes, you get me some of these, I'll swap you C6 Corvettes for SS Utes all day long. I'm just like, a Corvette. You looked on car sales for a Corvette, 150 grand here. Insane. He's like, give me an LS1 SS Ute, you'll swap straight away for a C6 Corvette.
And this is what's going to happen, is all these things that we're all laughing at about that are 2 and 3 grand that are, and you're seeing the climb already.
Yeah.
They are wanted.
Yeah, and I think as they become legal, honestly, if they become legal, they're going to start, like, I think by the time you get like sort of your VT, your LS stuff, the Utes, once they become legal stateside, they're going to start going over stateside fast, man. They love them. They absolutely love them over there. And the fact that they're getting pretty close. I think it's only 2 or 3 years away from them being legally allowed to be imported over to America. They're going to, I reckon they'll climb in value tons because that's where they'll start getting sent.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's on. Because my buddy that I went to Goodwood with, Michael Lyons, so he's got a 700 horsepower Maloo over there as his daily. And
in the UK?
Oh, yeah, man.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
He's a gangster. That was part of why he and I, when we first met years ago, went from the UK to France, and he and I were in the Maloo together. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. We're like belting through France in a Maloo. And you're like, yes.
Yeah.
But
until you see the fuel prices.
Until you say, look, you just close your eyes and don't think about it. But on this last trip, we're chatting about he's got a soft spot for the Falcons, and he's particularly interested in an AU. And to get one over there to the UK or to come over here and get himself into one. So there's a market there for international stupidity for Ford Falcons.
Yeah. No, just, we've got good stuff, and a lot of people don't, we ignore it or downplay it, I guess.
Because they were considered big bogan.
Yeah.
Whereas like my EL XR6, like that's the best. Like
ELs are great. They are a great car. Honestly.
They're so good. I think they look so pretty.
Chuck them. You want to know something that's really cool about your EL?
Far away.
JZX 100 body kit. Front bar, side skirts, rear bar, pretty much fit straight on.
Really?
I got a friend that has one with a genuine BN body kit with a turbo barrow motor and everything in an EL Falcon.
See, I've got the turbo barrow motor in there.
Yeah.
So
his turbo barrow with a BN body kit, genuine BN. So he's got a $3,000-$4,000 body kit on an EL Falcon.
I gotta hunt that down. That looks sick.
It does. It looks amazing. It's just, and it's so funny because you get obviously JDM fan, and he's got a big BCL wing on it as well.
Even better.
So it's very out there, and he runs genuine Japanese wheels and stuff on it, but it's an EL Falcon, so it just gets so much confusion, around it. But then look at a freaking Safiro or a Laurel or a JZX 100. They're just prettied up commuter cars, and that's all these Falcons and Commodores are. So yeah, I think it's just a mental thing for people, I guess, and they'll end up coming around because we can't all afford to keep drifting $50,000 Silvias, that's for damn sure. So, there's going to be a point where we're going to have to turn around and either drive Zs, ugly Zs. I don't mind anymore, but you know what I mean? They're a thing. They're hard, and they're hard to get power out of Zs. You have to pretty much engine swap them. So, I think, your Falcons and your Commodores are really the only way we've got to go in Australia. There's no other way to go.
No, I've got no idea what else would be.
You've either got to go Zs, FT86s and GR86s, which aren't a bad option, but again,
no power.
Hard to get power out of. You go grab an XR6 for under 10 grand, it already makes 400 horsepower.
And send it.
And then, there's so many companies now making off-the-shelf parts for them. So, I'm about to start working with a company to some extent, which are doing all these fabricated lower arms and stuff. So, I think I'm going to end up with, they said between 60 and 65 degrees of steering angle on the Falcon, which is wise fab. That's as much as you'd have in a drift car. You're not spinning. It's stupid angle. So that's going to be really cool. It's the angle on it now is more than enough. And I'm just like, well, if you can have more, right? So we're going down the more route of more. So it's going to be really cool. And I'm so bloody excited to get off that plane in Japan knowing that stupid Falcon's there. It's so cool. It's probably a more cool. It's an even cooler feeling than it was rocking up into the States knowing I'd bought the C6 Corvette. Because the C6 Corvette to us is a supercar. You know, to me, like in the US, the first time I tandemed with a C6 Corvette, like there was a C6 Corvette in front of me and I had the G35 sedan I had, and I came up and I wanted to get on his door. Like, that's a freaking Corvette, man. Like, this guy's out on the track drifting a Corvette. And, you know, I've drifted Lamborghinis, Ferraris, all that sort of stuff, but it's like, it was just such a surreal, weird, I couldn't get close to it. I'm like, oh, it's a Corvette. You know, you can't. And then when I bought my one, I bought it sight unseen. I think it cost me about 25 or 30 Aussie, around 30 Aussie. I think it was 22 US at the time. Dollar was pretty shit. But I bought it and I was just like, oh, this is insane. You know, I'd sold a car back here and that's sort of how I sold my V8 350Z to help pay for that Corvette, which pretty much paid for all of it. But, you know, going over there and just knowing that the Corvette was there was a wild feeling. But then I went on eBay and my doors were only $200. You know, headlights are cheap. Like a full set of 4 rear taillights on a Corvette, which when you actually see the Corvette in person, they're like trailer lights. They're $100. You know what I mean? Even the whole full rear bars, they're way cheaper than a Silvia. You know, you can't get Silvia stuff as cheap as the stuff is with the C6 Corvette. And they're a real, they're a car that fully comes apart. So like your rear quarter panel on a Corvette is a full panel. So it you know, like your front quarter panel comes off a car normally, your rear quarter panel on a Corvette comes off like that. Your rear comes off. They're like a kit car. You know, essentially there's a set of chassis rails in a Corvette, like a truck. And then just everything hangs off that. You know, your floor's fiberglass, your sill panels are fiberglass. I went over there with a 3-footed Monster, which is the Aussie company that do the camera mounts. I lost the 3-footed Monster because I never used it. I've actually lost it because I couldn't stick it to anything in the Corvette because everything's fiberglass. Nothing in it is metal.
Bad. So it's actually built like it's perfect drift car.
Yeah, no, straight up off the floor. But it's just I was obviously super excited. You know, it's basically to me, I felt like I bought a supercar. You know what I mean? It was a real defining sort of super rad thing. You know, the first car I bought in America for drifting was a G35 Skyline, which wasn't necessarily cheap by any means, but just a very, very basic car. Stock VQ35 DE, made it work. You know, definitely opened a lot of eyes in the States towards my driving, etc. with that car, but it couldn't highlight. You know, you couldn't do highlight reel stuff in it to an extent. You could, but you couldn't. You know, and getting that Corvette, and it was so super cool and everything, but I still feel like I'm more excited about this freaking Falcon. Mate, I'm more excited.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, there's all this crazy stuff happening in the US that, you know, is more than enough to be, you know, insane. But just the Falcon stuff is just super duper exciting. And even seeing the car now, I literally just saw just before I came here, he'd sent me pictures. It's already been painting the exterior of the car, which I didn't think it was my buddy that's doing the last bit of the roll cage work for it over the weekend. So we basically got all the cage done. He's just finished welding it out over the weekend. That's why I sent it to his house so he could work late at night and his wife wouldn't get mad at him. Because when he was spending all his time around at my house, he was sort of like getting the phone calls all the time, like, where are you? Come home. Like, where are you? Where if he works at home, she's happy for him to work late as long as he's out there and can help when he's needed. He has 2 young kids himself, so I fully understand that. But yeah, he's sent me pictures this morning. He's like, that's why I was speaking about the doors I'm meant to be looking for, because he's already painting the car. So yeah, there'll be a new color unveiled for the car in the next few days on my YouTube channel as well. So she's getting full respray. When I say respray, it's a Falcon. It's getting done with the finest cans from Bunnings. The nice cans though, Rust-Oleum.
The fancy ones, yeah.
Rust-Oleum.
Good.
Yeah, that's 16 or $17 a can.
It's good stuff, mate. It sticks to anything.
But well, that's the thing, it does.
That's why I like it.
And I can take heaps of extra cans with me. And I didn't pay $16.70. The reason it's going the color it's going is because these cans are on special for $6.
Yes.
And they're the Rust-Oleum. They're the good ones.
Yes,
I had to go to 4 different Bunnings to collect as many.
Clean them out.
Yeah, clean them out because I want more than enough to paint the car. and then more than enough to be able to repair. So basically, I bought enough paint to paint the car twice.
Mate.
And yeah, you know what? It was painted with a can before, with the Rust-Oleum stuff, and it was a race car. 10-meter rule, mint. On track, mint. Put some stickers over it, race car. It looks great. And you know what? It's not super shiny. It still looks cool though. And then it'll be one color. So it was a two-tone car before, where because I'm going to be driving on the street there, I want it to be a single color. But it is I don't know. It's an interesting color. When he sent me the pictures, he's sort of like, oh, I don't know about this, and I'm like, no, it's mint, mate. Just
trust me,
she'll be right. I'm like, as long as it's one color and everything, I think it's going to be cool. So yeah, it's definitely a color I've never seen a Falcon. Put it that way. It's not. I don't even say it's necessarily out there. I just definitely haven't seen a Falcon this color. So yeah, it's going to be cool to show everyone the color and sort of the finished, somewhat finished exterior look of the car for the trip to Japan. And just, yeah, it being over there, I'm so excited. Like I feel bad being excited. Isn't that stupid? Like, with that whole Australian mentality, you know, there's so many people that are mad about it. Like there was one guy that did comment on my socials trying to bring the whole thing down. Like not, just a typical wanker, just why would you take that piece of shit there, rah rah. And I think the guy, his daily driver was a Subaru Forester, and I was sort of like, it's a lot of talk for a guy with a Forester. And the guy actually responded super abusive and then deleted me, and I was like, see ya. Bye.
Can't handle the heat. Get out of the Forester.
Yeah, but you know what? A vast majority of the responses have been positive. Even from, JDM fanboys and stuff like that is still like, that's cool.
Oh, man, that's Aussie pride right there.
Yeah, it's just like, of all things, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Plenty of Sylvia's there, plenty of everything you can need. JDM's already there. Don't take sand to the beach, right? Taking a Falcon to the beach. Actually, that's another thing I'll have to do. Take it down to the beach. If you got any suggestions of where I need to take this Falcon in Japan, guys, just PM me. I'm definitely open to ideas. And we keep seeing other things that we need to do. And it's like, I think we're there for like 7 days before Ibisu Matsuri starts. We're trying to like fully plan it so we can hit every spot that we want to hit with this Falcon. It's going to be a lot of driving.
Man, you're going to be busy.
But it's going to be super rad. Like just even the servo shots.
Yeah.
Even the Japanese service stations with a little Japanese dude there, as they do with their full service gas stations. And I can't wait to jump out with my camera.
Oh, yeah.
Why there's a genuine, legitimate Japanese service station with a little Japanese dude there doing it, and they usually clean your windscreen and stuff while you're there. And even even if you got bugs on your lights and stuff, they'll come out and clean that as part of their full service. And I just can't wait to see that with an A86. With that, I'm literally in my head thinking Initial D right now of the 8.6 in the servo. That's why I just said it. But just seeing a Falcon where there should be an 8.6. With maybe a little rice field in the background or something, like, I'm so excited.
Mate, that thing's going to snap necks over there, I can promise you.
There's nothing, I just can't think of anything bad about it. You know what I mean? Like, there will be people that will have negativity about it, but it's like you've got to be a pretty average person to see anything bad in this. I think it's going to be super rad. And, yeah, Corvette in the States, Aussie car in Japan. I'm excited.
Mate,
I've got plenty of Japanese cars here, it's boring.
You are living the dream, my man. I think it's fucking awesome.
Trying to make it happen.
Mate, it is
faking it till I make it.
Mate, that's the deal. That's the game. That's all you got to do. Mate, I don't want to hold you too much longer because I feel like I've stretched you out even this long as we've sat here.
Well, I've just got to go pick up some front AU doors, mate.
Bantering.
That's
and see,
what
that's
I've got to do.
Brilliant. I mean, what a way to spend your day. Look, for people who want to follow your adventures, where's the best way to track you down?
Fink Co on YouTube and just Luke Fink on Instagram. Pretty much Instagram and YouTube are the main outlets. I feel like I'm too old for TikTok. Maybe. I don't know. I don't. Just don't muck around on TikTok. And Facebook's kind of becoming a little bit obsolete. So just those ones, and more so YouTube than anything. Come along for the ride. It's going to be. It's just getting better, honestly. We've got we've got the trip organised for November. We've already got another trip for Japan for April next year as well, going over. So we've timed it when it should be pretty close to it, Ibisu Matsuri as well. But part of the plan with the Falcon is obviously not to just do Ibisu. We want to take it to all tracks, around Japan and really get out there and experience stuff and get the Falcon out to, all these different exciting places that, I've gone and driven them in Japanese cars, but to go there, with a car we've built here in Australia, I think is going to be super rad. And, it's obviously been built down in Geelong, by a bunch of Victorians in Japan. It's just going to be phenomenal. And I do hope we can get some, the ultimate dream is to put that thing in pro competition. I just think that would be absolutely ridiculous, to not only have the only Ford in Japan, the only Ford Falcon in Japan, but to go and enter that thing into pro Formula Drift competition, I think will be absolutely nutty and actually possible. That's the cool thing about it. Like it's fully possible. So we're just going to make it happen.
It's totally possible. And the lovely part is, Ford globally, mate, we've got to try and convince them that this still is relevant.
Yeah, well, if you're passionate about a brand or something, I don't know. I actually should message Vaughan.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be hanging out with Vaughan in the next couple of weeks. So
and go, what's up?
Or just swing past RTR and be like, can you let the boys in Japan know?
Yeah.
I'm swinging through with the Falcon.
Look, we're doing something pretty loose with...
It's a four-door Mustang, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Four-door Mustang.
It is a four-door Australian Mustang. It is a strong brand exercise.
Yeah. We'll see a little hot one for you. I might be going and doing some stuff. So there's a Holly LS Fest, and then 2 weeks after that is the Ford Fest. So we may be going back to that and driving a Ford anyway. So,
mate,
some other stuff happening.
This story just writes itself.
Yeah, so who knows? It'd be good to rub some shoulders with the right people and get actual industry involved with that.
That'd be mate, in the Fink Falcon, mate, Fink Ford, it's all there. It all lines up. It's going to work.
I like my Corvette, though.
Yeah.
Even if I got fully involved with Ford, I'd have to keep my Corvette. It's my first supercar.
Then you could turn it into a Ford Vet.
It's my first supercar.
Put a barrow in it.
To be honest, the Coyotes and what are they? Your aluminators are the new ones that are in the Mustangs. They're a bloody good engine. I would actually happily have one of those in the Corvette instead of the LS.
Yeah, there'd be no offense around that. What about Tokyo Auto Salon?
Oh, mate.
How do you wrangle the Falcon into Auto Salon, I think is the other big question.
You know what?
Because that's not that far away.
That's a good question.
So we've got to find out who we're friends with here.
Yeah.
To ram that into Auto Salon because what's that, January?
January, yeah. I got to make that happen now.
Yeah, boy.
I didn't even think about that. Damn.
Yeah, that's where it's got to be because, mate, Falcon at Tokyo
could and
Auto
should be.
Salon. Not only should it be, and I mean, what a wonderful opportunity for Australian manufacturing to be showcased.
Well, I don't know if Ford would be necessarily involved in that. But
No, I'm talking about this is aftermarket here.
Maybe if the turbine goes down soon enough, could be. I'm just trying to think of last time I was at Tokyo Auto Salon, the Aussie brands that were there, but there was definitely GCG. What other Aussie brands were there? I'm trying to remember. Oh, Turbo Smart, obviously. Link, places like that. Or Link's New Zealand, but Haltech. A lot of those are all represented at Tokyo Auto Salon. I'll tell you what, that'd be the best way to represent that company would be...
Wouldn't it?
With a Ford Falcon.
Wouldn't that be a wonderful opportunity?
Yeah. Now I'm picturing the bloody car at Auto Salon. That would just be ridiculous.
Honestly, as you were talking about it, in my mind, I am seeing a Ford Falcon under lights at Auto Salon in Japan, and I'm there going, this is one of the greatest moments in Australian history. GDR Falcon. Yeah, yes. Boy.
I like it. I think that's a good way to end.
Dude, I don't know how it could get better than that. Mr. Luke Fink, thank you for coming and spending the time. Mate, it's been a real joy, watching your career progression and, mate, even more fun with where it's going now.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I think it's, it's only just starting, really, isn't it? There's so much more to do. I'm only 40. There's still plenty of time left.
Just getting started.
Yeah.
Mate, Thank you.
Oh,
Everybody, for everybody listening, thanks so much. We'll catch you next time.
Cheers, guys.